Allow me also to greet our support staff, our colleagues, and the entire team from both the department and from the ministry, the department, and the agency Road Accident Fund. We take this moment to welcome you here for engagement. You are here to give us assessment of the Road Accident Fund Interim Board. You have presented there that it will be dated from this when you started August 2025 to February 2026. Honorable Klengwa. The last time we engaged with the Road Accident Fund, 2 occasions, the first occasion was not, the first of the 2 was not very nice. The second one, we're getting closer to each other. And I think I've strongly hoped that today we would have crossed the Rubicon in terms of our levels of engagement. I didn't want to waste much of time because we have a lot to deal with in as far as the entity is concerned. I just want to really welcome you, but before we can do anything, I will request our sister here to take us through Valerie, through the apologies, both from your side and from our side that have been recorded. Valerie, if you can quickly do that.
Good morning. Apologies were received from the Minister who is attending a special cabinet meeting today, and from Mr. Maduna, Ms. Kobe, Mr. Van Staden, and Mr. Gama, who will join later after we're pre-meeting. And I understand one of our members, Ms. Nikopane, was delayed because of a flight.
That's from our side. I know there is an apology of the Honorable the Minister who is engaged in a special cabinet meeting, but I would want you to read it to record a DM and any other apology from your side.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members and colleagues. Happy New Year, Chair. I don't know if it's still a thing, but for what it's worth, compliments of the New Year. Chair, yes, I want to reiterate the apology of Minister Creasy, who is in a special cabinet this morning and therefore unable to be here. The acting DG is here and the DDG for SOCGAP are here. So I think from the ministry side, department side, Chair, we are fine. Thank you. If I may hand over to the interim chair if there's any ref apologies. Thank you.
Please. Yeah.
Thank you, DM. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Apologies from our side is Ms. Ndina Temba, our chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee. She had a prior engagement that she couldn't get out of. Similarly, Nzwaki Mkutumela, who is the chair of the Operations, IT and Legal Committee, and as well Ms. Mule, our chartered accountant as well. She's just a member there, so she couldn't make it today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable, the Deputy Minister, this is our follow-up engagement, if you remember. I think will be the second engagement as a sequel with the interim board. And I think the other one were virtual, right? If I'm not mistaken. So I may want you to do the introduction so that we can now attach those faces which were responding to us virtually to their sentiments so that we know who's who and how we then respond to each other now physically. Yeah, in that note, Honorable Deputy Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. We've got members of the interim board and the acting CEO who are present here. I'm going to ask them, Chair, to introduce themselves so you can attach a face to a voice because you are hearing them over the, the virtual play. But next to me is the interim chairperson, Mr. Kenneth Brown, and then the team will introduce itself as it goes down. Thank you.
Good morning, TM. Good morning, Chair and members. Good morning, RAF Board and colleagues. My name is Radikwena Pora, currently the acting CEO of the Road Accident Fund. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Nonhlanhla Mabusela, Deputy Chair of the Road Accident Fund.
Greetings, everybody. Nishan Bolton, board member of the RAF.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Tsakana Mashemze, also board member, shareholders rep. Thanks.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, TM, and honorable members. My name is Alfred Mponchane, member of the interim board. Thank you.
Kobodile Richard Janji, member of the interim board.
Story ends there, Chairperson.
Yeah, we now can attach not just faces to also to responses of the previous engagement, because this is a follow-up. So I wouldn't want to take much, colleagues. Now you know who we're dealing with. Maybe just to introduce our honorable members quickly. Dr. Unsinger there. Yeah, Honorable Unsinger, if you can, so that they can also hear your voice.
Good Chairperson, and good morning and welcome to all the new board members. Quite a number of new faces, also Deputy Minister. I'm Chris Hunsinger indeed. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Blossom.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings, DM, colleagues. My name is Honorable Mazwe Plose, a member of this committee. Thank you.
Honorable Ghana.
Thanks, Chair, DM, board members, transport officials. It's Makashile Ghana, and today it's a lazy Tuesday. Welcome.
Honorable Malmach.
No, thanks, Chair, DM, colleagues, board members, and whoever in the House. My name is Christopher Nagambe Malemacha. I'm a member of this committee.
No, thanks very much, honorable members. As you are aware, DM and colleagues, my name is Donald Slamlela. I'm a member and chair of this portfolio committee on transport. DM, without wasting time now, I'm going to allow you to do your introduction remarks and also to hand over to whoever for taking us through the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I didn't realize there was a Chris Jr. and a Chris Senior in the committee. I will leave it at that. Which was the senior and the junior, which will be determined at another time. Chairperson, thank you very much. I really want to, at the outset, appreciate on behalf of the Ministry and the Department the opportunity to appear before yourselves this morning so that we can give a follow-up and an assessment insofar as the work that has been done by the interim board since the decisions we took in June and July 2025, which amongst others included the dissolution of the board. We have put in place an interim board, which you have interacted with and today have the pleasure of meeting. And I believe that they will be able to traverse for us the work that has been done. Also, Chairperson, you will recall that there was issue with the appointment of the acting CEO. The matter has been regularized as it last day already, and the acting CEO is here. Substantively, he's the chief of audit within REF and is currently now acting. The process of appointing a CEO is underway. And we will conclude on that in due course. At the same time, Chairperson, you'll recall that we had made a commitment that we would be moving towards the appointment of the board. We had previously advertised, but we were not happy, Chair, holistically about the pool of nominated persons for the board. There's quite a number of issues within that nomination process. We have run a second opportunity or second window for people to apply, and that closes on the 26th of February, and we have tried to streamline it to make it accessible and regularize on the challenges that were there. Once that closes, on the 26th, we will then consolidate the report of names and we will publish for public comment the names that would have been received. And as a added layer, a chairperson, what we are doing now in the ministry and through the department is interviewing candidates for boards, which is something which ordinarily had not been done substantively previously. Across the ecosystem of our boards, we are interviewing now before we appoint. And so we will, across the stipulated criteria within the Act, once we have completed public comments and so on, we will interview those that will be shortlisted so that we can satisfy ourselves that we have at the very least undergone a due process and had an engagement with candidates. So it is not just going to be receipt of CVs. So whilst the board chair is performing its duties, we are moving in a direction of ensuring that due process is followed. I can also, Chair, indicate for the record that because of us having to rerun the nominations process for the board, we have extended the term of the interim board for a period of 6 months or until a new board has been appointed, whichever comes first. I'm quite confident that we will be able to appoint a new board within that 6-month period. And above and beyond that, Chair, is to indicate that those who have already applied or have been nominated for the board need not apply or be nominated again. We will be adding them to we will adding on to them rather new nominations to make sure that we actually have a process that is underway. So from our side, Chairperson, we remain quite happy that the board is hard at work and dealing with all the substantive issues that beset the institution and the organization, which includes placing at the center of the ref processes the claimant. There's been good work to push the backlog down and pay claimants, and I want to thank the board for that initiative. We have supported it as well, including with public engagement and consistent with one of the slogans in our ecosystem, where SAA would say we are taking Africa to the world and bringing the world to Africa. We are taking REF to the claimant. And having community engagements, we are extrapolating where there's a backlog. Amongst others, Chair, we are doing this because we recognize that, for an example, the one outreach program I joined was in Jozini. For somebody to traverse between Jozini and Durban comes at a cost, a huge cost. Then they get to Durban, there's something missing, and. And so rather take the infrastructure of the road accident fund, track and trace the claimants within the jurisdiction where we will be working, and then process their issues there, clarify their issues there. And I can confirm that payments are being done on the spot on issues that have been long outstanding. If there was one issue missing there, we're sorting that out and paying people. And that is really the outlook that we want. I have asked the board to prioritize this program, and when we will give it support so that we can be able to bridge the gap. Amongst others is accessibility of the road accident fund is of critical importance to us. And so the call center is one instrument to do that. And it is ensuring that our offices are actually also operational. So what we are really trying to do, Chair, is to ensure that REF is accessible. Lastly, the one point I would want to then add is we are currently, Chairperson, waiting for a SAYA certificate from the presidency because we have concluded on the REBS bill. And I'm advised that there was comments and work that needed to be done through the NEDLEC process, which we had to incorporate as part of the process. Once that is concluded, we will work with speed for the bill to go through cabinet and for the bill to reach Parliament in due course. So work is also being done on the legislative reforms holistically, and we continue to receive input and guidance to make sure that we bring to yourselves a product that you can be able to work with. And having been in Parliament for just over 10 years, I'm pretty certain that what we bring is not what will come out. So we are quite confident that the committee will also be able to streamline the bill for us even further with its own processes, and we'll get a product that will ultimately have us a REF that is fit for purpose and able to respond to the public mandate which it has. Obviously, I think I have traversed with the committee before broadly what we seek to achieve through the REPS bill and why we believe that legislative reforms are necessary, and I'm pretty certain here when we do come to yourselves at that point, we will be able to traverse that road, no pun intended, without any accident. And then be able to conclude on those processes. Chair, that I thought I should just give that background just on ministry departmental work and indicate that the board is hard at work and we believe that they are doing good work. I would now like to hand over to the chairperson of the interim board and his team to be able to take us through the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, DM. In that order, whose phone is interfering? Okay, in that order, yeah. So.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. We will just go to the next slide, Makete. There. So the format of the presentation will actually look at the RAF reality. When we started, what is it that we found, what was working, what's not working, what is working, how do we strengthen, what's not working, how do we assess and modify, and see how we move forward around it. Then it will cover areas of financial governance, risk, and audit. We will we'll also cover the HR matters. Then the RAF legal defense that's actually been compromised. The matter of the claims backlog and the claims environment itself. We'll talk a bit around financial sustainability of the RAF. And then in between, we will talk about the progress that we've made, but we will also give you a roadmap on where we are basically headed. So in our first engagement with the minister and the deputy minister, the key matters that was raised by both there was the issue that we need to stabilize the finances of the road accident fund. We need to address the litigation with the Auditor General. We need to fast track claims payments to legitimate claimants. And we need to fill critical vacancies. We'll touch on that. And then the issue around default judgments that we need to address. And the claims, the status of the claims management system, basically there. Then yeah, I won't dwell too much onto it. I mean, the PFMA gives us a particular responsibility, actually as a board, fiduciary responsibility, basically there, and we have no choice but to act in line with the PFMA there, and these are the matters fiduciary and the general responsibilities, basically, of the board there. Then here is what we have found is just a summary of that, where the control environment was fairly unstable. The adverse findings of the Auditor General, the financial risks, including the increase in claims liability, issues around fraud and corruption. And when we talk fraud and corruption, you talk the whole spectrum, not only internal fraud and corruption, but all our stakeholders, whether it's the lawyers, whether it's the suppliers, whether it's the health practitioners there. So that environment and how we're dealing with that. Then the issue of around human resources, the claims management system that's archaic, basically. So our first port of call actually was when we took office. We lost the case on the extension of the moratorium for the 180 days payment there, and we were forced actually to really start to fast track these payments at the end of the day, and not only rely on this 180-day kind of moratorium. So what then happened was we were forced actually to, and it turns out to be positive for us as a road accident fund, that we needed to meet with the plaintiff attorneys and start to have engagements basically with them on how we're going to manage this, and so that they don't put undue pressure rather on the road accident. In fact, we clearly said to them, look, we owe you about 20 billion rand. We only got 5 billion rand in the bank. These two don't fit together. We need to find a way of saying, how do we find each other and how do we schedule these payments over a period of time, basically. Fortunately, many of them actually agreed to that, together with the health and medical fraternity there. But then, for us, it was key that we start to engage our staff to understand the environment basically firsthand. We came in with clear minds so that we are not influenced by external forces as to what's working and what's not working actually within there. And our staff has been very gracious in the matters that they've raised. While some of the matters were of an HR related there, many of the matters actually was about innovations, the frustrations that they have in their offices, working conditions, the archaic claim system, and they've got ideas on how to fix quite a bit of that there. Then I'll talk later about the HR matters, etc. I think just go to the next slide. There. Then the AG, I mean, the Auditor General did a detailed presentation. We did an assessment basically on that. The adverse audit opinion, which in the main related to the accounting standard that was used. They've raised a number of issues around irregular expenditure. There's a term that's being used. Look, I'm not an accountant, so there's a term that's being used as saying doing harm within the financial management environment. So the financial instability, especially for RAF, has got an adverse impact on claimants, but it also has an adverse impact on the health fraternity that's supporting basically that. So if you don't sort that, you've got a problem. Then it's the matter of the liquidity problem that's there, and how we start to, the funding model basically itself, we need to look at that. Then the other issue that they've raised was the issue around the performance on the backlogs actually itself. The backlogs are growing. The settlement delays up to, in some cases, up to 7 to 10 years. These delays, and these needs to be addressed. Then the Auditor General raised two material irregularities. The one has been the compromise SAP system, where I think 36 million was paid out. I would say fraudulently, basically there, and then we need to address that irregularity, and then the issue of duplicate payments, and a problem that we basically need to address. The Auditor General indicated that, look, in terms of the Public Audit Act, we can't get away without taking action in fixing that material irregularity. If we don't take action, we as a board will be individually and collectively be liable for that amount of money there. So we are starting to look at that and how we address that. Then the systems and IT control weaknesses basically there. One is on the procurement side. You know, a lot of deviations, single sourcing. A big chunk of our procurement is actually mainly around that, which is a problem. Then the IT control environment as well. I mean, the issue around cyber attacks, the vulnerability of the system. There is a problem. Then they raised the issue around the claims management system, Bukamoso. That progress on it has been slow, and there's continuous frustration actually around that system, basically, as well. Then there was a matter of conflict of interest and the SAP system that has been compromised there. Then on the financial governance side is the audit cycle was not concluded at the time. Which means in August, we still didn't finalize the annual financial statements and the annual report. So myself and the chair of ARC met with the Auditor General, and we found each other on how to deal with the matter. We, subsequent to that, finalized the annual financial statements and then tabled the annual report late. I think we must have tabled it towards the end of October or so, yeah, there. You know? Then there was, you know, a lot of our financial policies. Your delegation of authority, for example, has been outdated. That needed to be sorted out. Then it's also our planning for risk. Has not been approved at the time. So we started the 2025-2026 financial year without a strategic risk register. So we needed to get that sorted out and approved there. Then on the assurance independent side, normally, in fact, it's a legal requirement in any case that internal audit needs to actually report to ARC, the Audit and Risk Committee. In this case, it was reporting to EXCO itself, so it was an untenable situation. Then related to that is the issue around forensic investigations. So even that, previously it reported to the board, and then subsequent to the reorganization of the RAF, it reported to management, and that needed to change as well. Then there was a lot of audit finding backlogs dating back 2018 that we needed to resolve, and there's a process underway to deal with that. So we've concluded the financial statements, as I've said. We are transitioning. In fact, we have concluded our transition. Maybe we're still transitioning, if I can put it that way, from the accounting IPSAS 42 to GRAP 19. There's been a number of meetings with the National Treasury, with the Auditor General, the Accounting Standards Board, on how we need to manage that particular kind of transition. There. So I think is it for this quarter now. We're already on GRAP 19. In our agreement with the Auditor General, it was that at some point during this time they'll need to do an interim audit on how we account for these potential liabilities, basically there. Right. As I've said, we've restored internal audit independence. On the forensic side, we're starting to say, look, why do you wait until there's a problem? Can't we get to proactive forensics kind of work? And where you know you do periodic forensic on the claim system itself, the performance of the system, basically there, so that you minimize the damage of fraud actually in that environment proactively. So the acting CEO here will lead an audit resolution task force to deal with all the outstanding audit findings. There will update the delegation of authority and all other policies that need to be delegated, and then we'll stabilize the supply chain management environment. Currently, the CEO is working closely with the CFO and in assessing the capability of supply chain management and finding ways to say how do you strengthen basically basically there. So we will be assessing that proposal very soon on how we're going to move basically with that. So in terms of the financial statements and financial sustainability, our current liabilities are just over 40 billion, basically there. There's still a bit of, we still need to understand the greater liability there, following the move to GRAP 19. And later on, the Deputy Chair will get in a bit of detail on how we're moving and the CEO on that. Then there's the issue of the RAF 1 form that's laborious and that has slowed down the claims process. While this matter is in the court, we are assessing actually its implications basically there, and see at some point there will be a proposal to say how do we phase this out so that we just make the claims process fairly friendlier for people. What is going to be keen for financial sustainability is our own internal expenditure. Basically, we spend on our staff about 2.8 billion annually, and then on general operations we spend about 1.8 billion there. And it is within the general operations part that we need to find a way of saying how do we save quite a bit of but it will not solve the problem. The problem is of billions in problem. But what is critical here is how do you reorganize the general expenditure so that we use it to modernize the RAF in the short to medium term and long term there. Then is the issue of the funding model. There's a mismatch between revenue and claims there. Right? Is it 50 billion that comes through the R2.18, but our claims liability continues to steadily kind of grow. And maybe I should just give an example, Chair. I did a quick back of the envelope calculation, and where you take the 50 billion, you divide it by the 60 million people that are benefiting actually from RAF, you end up close to 70 rand per person per month for cover. So for 70 rand, you cover for loss of life, funeral benefit, medical and medical past, future, general damages, etc. That's for 70 rand. If you calculate it even per car, it gets to close to 400 rand per car per month. So there is clearly our benefits relative to the revenue that we get are quite a bit generous, if I could put it that way. And part of the RAPS bill is starting to look at it because we need to get that down. Think about it. If we were to increase just a fuel levy by 2 rand, it's 2 rand 18, you were to double it. All that it does, it takes the 70 to 140 at the end of the day. So clearly, we probably need to look at that. But in addition to that, now that you've got electric EVs coming into play, so the demand for fuel over the period may stay stagnant or even at some point go down as you get fuel efficiency within the system. So all of these are going to actually impact on the financial sustainability of the Road Accident Fund. So Sean and the actuarial team, they're looking at all of these numbers and starting to say how do we make sense of all of that. Basically, on the HR side, I mean, we had two organizational structures, and in there you had contract workers, you got unplaced staff, vacancy rates were fairly high, and a lot of vacancy rates in critical positions. And in management positions, and that's why you've got acting at an executive level. You've got acting at the management level, just below executives. If you go into the regions, it's the same. It cascades actually kind of down there. So these are key issues that we need to find a way as the board through our RAMCO to say how do you deal basically with that. Suspensions and dismissals, there's progress actually around what's happening there. Then there's the issue of staff integration. Many of our staff members were suspended for a longer period of time, 2, 3, 4 years at the end of the day. When they come back to what are they coming back to is a key kind of issue. So we need to think of a staff reintegration policy that they're working on there. Then there's the issue around culture, climate, staff wellness that we basically needed to look at that. So we have now migrated into a single structure there. So in that process, as a termination, we said, look, let's just do away with Section 189. Virtually every person who's there will be absorbed within the system. There will not be any job losses as it relates to that. Then there's what Tembi and them call an employee transition plan to say how do you transition that later on when there's Q&A, the chair of RAMCO will get into a bit of detail there. We had a number of contract staff there and people that were out of position. These people, as part of the transition plan, are being absorbed actually within the structure there. Then it's a matter of the CEO here having some proposals on how to speed up some of these disciplinary processes. So you don't have 3-4 years of some of these DCs there. And where there are vacancies and there's budget for those vacancies, those will be filled there. And then there's a review currently underway of all our HR policies. That would be your recruitment policy, the disciplinary policies, etc. They're busy basically with that. So the process of rebuilding organizational culture is actually underway there. But one must say, I mean, the entire environment where at even within a regional level where you've got quite a bit of vacancies, contract workers, people displaced actually within the structure, that creates quite a bit of uncertainty basically there. And as part of the employee transition plan, it's a matter of saying, how do we start to also rebuild organizational culture? Because of these uncertainties within the organization, it creates a bit of anxiety among staff. Then there's the matters that has been raised by the SIU, the Auditor General himself there, and the Parliamentary Committee that we are forced to deal with. PRECA forces us to deal with that. The Public Audit Act forces us to deal with that. The PFMA, I think it's Section 82 somewhere, also forces us to deal basically with that. Otherwise, we'll be declared delinquent directors if we don't address many of these particular kind of challenges there. So on the legal and operations side, there, I mean, we've got default court judgments for the past few years were 13 billion. For the current financial year alone, it's estimated at around 3 billion, and with I mean, is it 4 months still to go, 2 months or 1 month? It will be 2 months, basically to go. So if you were to go in any high court and assess RAF matters, they dominate that environment. In many of these cases, we are not represented well. We're losing them. And the default judgments are just going up, basically there. So the CEO is looking at a number of the issues that needs to be resolved there. Part of it has got to do with appointing the head of legal as soon as possible, dealing with the vacancy rate. There's plus minus 400 vacancies actually within that legal space there. Then it's the claims environment. A very paper-based system. When we brought in Bukamo, so it only looked at one aspect of it. So you don't have a cradle to the grave kind of system, basically to deal basically with that. So even within our environment, we don't have strong internal IT capability to say how do you actually use technology drive the entire claims environment, so that when an accident happens, onboarding of a claim happens at that point there, and things just get automated, basically moving forward. So this claims environment is really, if I can use the word, is it inequitable, or it creates inequity, because the well-to-do can access systems fairly quickly, get paid, they can claim higher, but the poor are left behind if they were to be left in an accident at the end of the day. So when solving the problem is not only about the automation of it, but is about accessibility for the ordinary rank and file people actually of South Africa. And supply chain is not at the level where it understands the dynamics of the business and say, how do we support the change that actually needs to happen within that environment. So there's quite a bit of work going on there. On the legal defense strategy, basically, the panel has been abandoned. Then we've got a state attorney model. And given the rise in default judgments, the question now is the state attorney model kind of working? So that assessment is underway vis-a-vis the panel. Should we get to a hybrid system where we use the state attorney with the panel? So all of these assessments are currently underway. We've been inundated with summonses, with surprise summonses at the end of the day. So the legal team is looking at the summons surveillance mechanism there. Then it's also about many of this court these judgments that many of them get resolved on the doorstep of the courts. You see? And the question is, maybe we should up our mediation strategy and have an active system that scales that up. But what's going to be key, kind of moving forward, is how do we fast track direct claims and scale it up? Because we find it probably to be a great solution to solve the problem. And part of that is the issue around accessibility there. So do we go back to satellite offices where we had our rough staff spread actually across the country so that we improve accessibility on that? So we're looking at all of that. Then there's low-hanging fruits, and it's a sad example I will use is the scholar transport accident that happened where 14 kids basically passed on there. The CEO took quite a bit of initiative there and said, look, how do we fast track the payments of funeral claims actually as it relates to that there? Right? Now in the past, in terms of policy, maybe not, yeah. You first need to raise the cash to do the burial, and then claim. And then you've got somebody who says, no, we're paying for this, we're not paying for that at the end of the day. So at the end, the poor will end up getting 10, 15,000. The wealthy, depending on what coffins they use, will get much higher at the end of the day. And that. So then we looked at this thing, and it worked well, because just the Friday before the funeral, we would have dispersed out of the 14?
48 hours. We paid 12 or 14.
12 or 14 within 48 hours of that, right? And about a day or two before the funeral actually itself, which makes it easy. And we said, look, let's look at this, because then we can scale up and rethink how we manage the funeral claims part actually of that. It's not as simple as it is there, but how do we start and rethink that model? But then at the same time, how do we use that to start to fast track direct claims? Because the RAF staff were there at the accident. They were sorting out the paperwork. But we say, why does that not become a practice and moving forward? So we're looking at quite that. Then the plaintiff attorneys, our forensics division, we need to strengthen it even further. Because sometimes we tend to think when you talk about fraud, corruption, you think it's the staff of the RAF or whatever, but the plaintiff attorneys themselves, the claims that come through the system, basically there. And we need to scale up quite a bit of that to our surveillance to deal with potential fraud as it relates to that. Then honourable members, we just added the following slides, and apologies because I hope you may not have gotten into it, just to demonstrate how we scaled up just payments. Because the importance of scaling up payments in this way, you reduce the pressure actually on the RAF for people going to court. You actually improve the liquidity of the suppliers, the health practitioners that are using their own cash to provide a service at the end of the day. So you're helping them basically with their liquidity to provide a service at the end of the day. So you're helping them basically with their liquidity. So it's beneficial that that money gets to them as quickly as possible. But as part of the proactive surveillance actually of the system, how sure are we the money that we've paid to plaintiff attorneys reaches the plaintiff? Because the system is designed in such a way that the plaintiff will have a relationship with a plaintiff attorney at the end of a contractual relationship. So we are duty bound, forced to pay over basically to them. And if I can give you an example, if you pay an attorney, let's say R1 billion, even if that money just lies for a few days in the bank accounts of that attorney, the amount of interest that they would earn is exorbitant at the end of the day. And that doesn't get passed onto the system. You see? So that's why, as part of the reform agenda, is to say, how do we manage this? But also, how do we give information to the plaintiff so that the plaintiff know that this payment has been made and this is the amount actually of this thing. So we're looking at an IT module that we want to put on our website, where the plaintiff can just type in their link number or even their ID number, and out of that, get information about payments that has been made, basically, whether it's to their plaintiff attorney, or even give them a sense of how far their claims is in the process there. Then the next slide, this just shows, if you look at the green bars from April to up to August, that we were running on 181 to 210 days. But as we started to step up payments, we gradually migrating back to 120, 151 to 180 days. We gradually moving basically there in resolving quite a bit of claims. And we're starting to actually get to 100, so we're getting close to 120 days now in processing quite a bit of the claims. So we're speeding up that. What we've asked the Tsepo, who's the head of claims, and Sean, our actuary, who's the head of chief investment officer, was to say we need to rethink performance data, because now we're talking rands and cents. But how many claimants have gotten paid? For what products have they been paid, etc. So we need to find a way of reporting performance in a particular way there. Then the next slide is an updated kind of presentation. Now, once we've done that, we gave it to the EXCO team, and then they went the next slide there, and then they looked at that and then started to also plot an action plan basically for themselves on how they're going to address some of the issues. But this is just containing the existing environment. We're not even on the modernization path yet. And part of the conversation that the board had with management and the CEO was to say, look, the current people are inundated with work to stabilize and make sure that we maintain at least financial sustainability for now. However, they need external expert support for modernization. If I can take you back, SARS in 2020, is it 2020, the journey 2020 to 2025, paper-based system. It's e-filing today, it's chalk and cheese at the end of the day. And there are a bit of parallels between what can be done actually at the RAF and what SARS actually have done. So we've interacted with one of the guys, IT guys at SARS, on this. Now we as a board are saying to the CEO, go and look for, or come up with a proposal on how we've got a dual way of dealing basically with that. So that would be that. So to conclude, Honourable Chair, there, we have found the RAF as it is. We have done a detailed independent assessment of it, the issues that work, that don't work, basically there, right? So as I've said, we are in the stabilization phase, basically, of this there, right? And we need to start to rebuild there. Now, rebuild into a modern RAF, when we talk rebuild. So this is not going to be an easy journey. It is definitely not going to be an easy journey. It's not going to be a quick fix. It will take quite a bit of time to get to where we need to get there. But one takes comfort, honourable members, that even visiting all our regions, our offices, when you interact with staff, they are passionate and they are ready for this challenge, actually to change the RAF, to modernize it, to innovate, and really to get it to where it is. So what I was saying to the CEO, I said, this is the easy part of our conversation, by the way. In 6 months' time to a year, we need to come back to you and say, this is what we have done. This is how we have changed. Now we're just making promises. But we need to come back and say, show tangible kind of progress. So part of this journey is we will have to bring our stakeholders together, right? Everybody, whether it's civil society, whether it's the deputy minister and the minister, that side with the outrageous demands, the attorneys, we need to bring them on board, the suppliers, health practitioners, and yourself, actually, as lawmakers. You probably understand the Road Accident Fund better than us, and it will help where you start to give us pointers on the matters that we actually need to look into. With those words, Honourable Chair and members, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's always best to err on the side of caution following the kind of allegations Minister and I underwent a few weeks ago. We don't have outrageous demands. And I think, Chair, you will also realize that we are in a difficult process of stabilizing a very large entity whilst at the same time it has to function and deliver on its mandate. So we can't cease and halt operations. All of this has to be done parallel to delivery. And so that presents a heightened level of complexity, but which I believe is receiving the kind of dual attention that it requires, and so one is very happy with that. And I know the chair of the board made an example or a comment around if we were to double the levy. The operative word there was if, and just for public clarity, there is no intention to double the levy or to increase the levy. Chair, we remain, at this point, revenue generation, innovation within REF is going to become critical to ensure its long-term sustainability, and that is part of the key focus areas that we have. But we also recognize we can't increase the levy. That is not an option that we have because part of the GNU medium-term development plan commitments is to lower the cost of living. And part of the engagements we are having with Treasury are around the financial generation streams, revenue generation streams rather, for the REF. So that remains a work in progress. But Chair, as the hymnal goes, this is our story, this is our song. Thank you very much.
No, thanks for your story, thanks for your song. I like it when you say, and it must be said because, you know, we are live, that operational word of if, it must be in capital letters that it is if. There is no intention in your part whatsoever to increase the levy, because the way the people of South Africa are burdened by the cost of living, when you talk of increasing any other thing, they will interpret it to say, hey, that committee and RAF were discussing increasing the fuel levy. And that will put us on a serious back foot. But look, we appreciate your story, we appreciate your song. We're going to request members to engage with your story and with your song. There is the hymn, Honorable Ghana. Yeah. You can join the chorus. Yeah. I'll give you time you engage, ask question and comment. Yeah. You have 5 minutes to yourself. You'll be followed by Honorable Blose. Honorable Malmach, where are your members?
No, they are coming. They're just fetching their bags.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair. 5 minutes, it's too short. We are not many, and we still have 2 hours. So I think we need to do justice, Chair.
Yeah, if you feel that you need more time, the Chair is very democratic today.
All right. Yeah, so I want to start on the left side with the DM, and then move to the right. DM, and it will be a conversation rather than a series of questions that I would like to put it, and I prefer that to be a conversation rather than ask 20 questions and then you decide which ones are answered, because I think it's important that we get the response. So the first one that you in your opening comments, DM, you mentioned that the initial application to the RAF board, it was non-responsive, or the number of people that will have applied to be board members are inadequate, hence the extension. Is that correct?
No, that's not what I said.
All
I
right.
said we were not happy with the pool and quality of the people that we received. And maybe if I can substantiate in this way. When the advert went out, it was at the height of the challenges and the problems at RAF. And so ordinarily that was a repellent in my assessment of anybody who would have not want to associate themselves with an institution in the kind of chaos and mess in which it was. Of course, we have gone through the inputs and the public comments and the correspondence we've received from the public, raising particular issue and concerns around other individuals who are on that list, and it was our view that let us rather err on the side of caution and rerun the advert so that we can be able to draw the best that is available, and we will take that through the process which I outlined earlier on.
So from the pool that was received, will there be people that you'll say are somehow adequate? Because if you are saying the numbers were correct, but the quality was not impressive, and then you then followed it up to say you don't want those people to resubmit, their application will still be considered. Why would you do that when they don't meet the criteria in the first place?
No, it is not a holistic declaration to say that everybody in the list doesn't qualify. There are people whom you could appoint, but remember that the Act is also prescriptive in terms of the skill set or areas which you need to cover. Therefore, it is important that when we go to shortlisting, we've got an adequate pool therein for us to be able to select from.
So and I'll stay on this for a while. The number of people that applied, there are those that don't qualify at all. And I will take it that they will not be considered at all. I want to check how many of those that you will have satisfied yourself that they qualify for shortlisting from those that will have applied before.
Well, I think that would be subjective, Honorable Ghana, because I would not want to at this point traverse the substantive nature of the people there or cast doubt on people there. For me, this is still a work in progress. But we can pull out, I think we received just under 200 nominations that DDG can assist. And then we have to compartmentalize those applications within the requirements, and so then the list is whittled down even further. So I would say that we received comments, we received input. It raised substantive issues which were of concern. I can maybe put it this way, Honorable Ghana, for the ease of your own comfort. One of the issues was this. You had people nominated who had an association with REF in one way or the other in the past, either being nominated or nominating. Now, if you're trying to clean up a mess, and then the same characters in whatever imagination resurface again, you've got every reason to be careful about how you proceed. So it may not just be a case of whether you qualify or not. You could qualify, but your association or draft can be problematic. Because as you know, we are still dealing with investigations at REF. We are still dealing with the historical Auditor General findings and so on. And people with their presence in that era then come in as nominees or nominators. Because what I must also say is that the assessment was not just to look at who was nominated, who's nominating, so that we can do a due test of the interest that is there and the risk exposure which we have to mitigate against.
And any of the current interim board members in that pool that is somehow contaminated?
I certainly would not want to characterize it that way, because it would cast an aspersion on them. But as far as I'm aware, none of the interim board members have applied.
All right, thanks. You said that you have extended the term of the interim board by 6 months.
That's correct.
And the application ends on the 26th of February.
That's correct.
Closes. So my calculation will be that the process of appointing the new board, I'm checking, is this extension to say a maximum of 6 months, or as soon as the new board is appointed, the term of the interim then ends?
As I indicated, Chairperson, we've extended the board for 6 months or until such time that we have appointed the board, whichever comes first.
Did the current board interview the CEO?
Are you done with me?
Not.
You said you were directing
all right.
them to me.
Maybe let me ask: Did the current board submit a CEO name to yourself and the minister?
Yes, they have.
And where is that process now?
We are engaging with the board. We had a number of questions and they've submitted response to the issues that we have had. The Act says the board recommends, and we are considering the recommendation of the board, and will take it through the necessary processes, including but not limited to cabinet process.
So it was it one name that was submitted by the board or a couple of names?
It was,
2 names.
yeah, it was 3 names after the process that they had concluded.
Thanks. Let me go to the board chair, if you allow, Chair.
Yes, please.
So and I want to check with the appointment of the acting CEO. So I accept the one that the other day were unhappy because we did not feel that it was within the prescripts of the law, and it just turned out that we were correct, and that got reversed. So I want to check. So the current acting CEO would have been the head of audit and risk, internal audit. And what is the insofar as RAF is concerned, the acting CEO was from internal risk. When the permanent CEO is appointed, does the acting CEO go back to his position, or what is the thinking there?
Look, with that, we consulted with the National Treasury, and is it the Institute of Internal Auditors, all right? Because it is not automatic that the person would go back into his old role, because he can't audit his own performance as the CEO, all right? So now we needed to make provision for a mechanism. When the permanent CEO comes, we needed to look at options as to how do we accommodate him, basically there. One of the ways would be to redeploy him into another vacancy at a senior level there. That has nothing to do with audit there. The second option was to give him a sabbatical of a year, where he goes and study, improves his whatever qualifications, everything related to RAF there. And then the third option was to say, look, maybe within the transport family, can he be redeployed into any of those entities, for example. So we looked at those particular kind of options. And I must say, before I get to that, maybe let me just stop with that for now.
All right. And so both yourself and the DM, so the DM says the levy is not, there's no, at least not in the medium term, we're looking at increasing the levy. That's what the DM says. And you said even you are going towards, if it was the wish, and if my characterization is incorrect, you can correct, that the levy it's doubled. So what at least it tells me is that from your assessment, and you've been there for 6 months now, 6 months and 2 days, it sounds to me that you accept that the current model, it's unsustainable. That if things remain as is, it's just not sustainable. Together with your team and maybe the executive, which we understand that they are all acting in that position, are there other thoughts that are coming to the fore in making the RAF as a business sustainable outside of the fuel levy?
Look, currently, I mean, number one, we tend to focus on the revenue side when we want to talk about sustainability, but we're not looking at the spending side, right? So the point I was trying to make is to say there's a mismatch between contribution and quantum of payment for beneficiaries at the end of the day. So the point I was making, you're contributing, say, per capita 70 rand, but you may get 2 million. You could be actually a foreigner who's contributed very little, even less than the 70, and get 500 million at the end of the day. So there's a lot of other externalities on the claim side that we need to start to drill deep into. Right? And part of it is we need to match the claim expenditure with what we contribute per capita at the end of the day. Now, outside of that, now you look at revenue. Now, on the revenue side, you are actually very limited because you need to look at a revenue source that is related to the roads and the transport kind of vehicle kind of system. Now, Sean and them and the actuaries are looking at options there. And I don't want to spook the conversation prematurely. I could give you things and then at the end of the day I could be misquoted. So one wants to be very cautious in making suggestions without having thought through quite a bit of how that would basically look like.
Chairperson, if I may.
Yes,
Chair,
if it will assist.
We are bringing a bill to Parliament. It will cover these areas once there has been a conclusive determination on the policy outlook we seek to take. As things stand now, it is the levy at R2.18. There is no intention to increase, and REF will have to continue operating within the parameters of those limitations until such time that other revenue streams have been determined within REF. And of course, as we've indicated, and as the chair is indicating, it's about generation. Revenue generation is about expenditure. So cost containment measures within the REF ecosystem will have to be followed through. Where there are leakages, we will have to deal with that as well. So there has to be a comprehensive financial reimagination of the REF ecosystem, and would beg your indulgence, Chairperson, that we rather have that conversation when we bring the bill, because then at least we'll be speaking with certainty about the proposals we are having. Because as I'm saying, we are awaiting the SARS certificate, and there's a NEDLEC process that is underway. Thank you.
On that, DM, will that be the kind of a reworked RAPS bill? Or because so the reason I'm asking it in this way is that the RAPS bill has been going back and forth. You'll accept, and it has been overtaken by events. Like it's not something that was crafted last year. And, like there's a need to almost review it. Is that the bill that you are bringing, or the bill that you are talking about is over and above the RAPS bill?
Chair, the RAPS bill has not been going back and forth. The RAPS bill went through all the processes up until it served on the floor of the House of Parliament with the committee report and was debated in the House. But when it came to voting, something happened. Your records will show. The Portfolio Committee processed the RAPS bill. But of course, the RAPS bill, as we had it then, is not, realistic in its material facets to the ecosystem of today. It will require some reconfiguration, and hence I say, Chair, we are waiting for the social impact assessment certification, the SARS certification, and it's going through a NEDLEC process. But it went through all the processes. All the assessments were done. So it's not a new bill, it's just a new reality where we are at, and we are tailor-making it to suit this reality.
And let me, Chair, I think I've got 3 questions, then I am done.
Yeah, please wrap up.
3 questions, then I'm done. The suspensions, there were suspensions that happened before you came in, and there were suspensions that were triggered, I think, by this interim board, including that of the acting CEO who was coming. I think it was not this. It was a COO, or no, it was not the COO, but he was acting at the time that you came in because the CEO was suspended. How far are those processes? It's been quite some time now since they've been on suspension.
They were suspended on the 7th, and formally charged that early in January, if my memory serves me correctly, basically there. So the process of starting the DC is at an advanced stage.
So these will be the suspensions that you handled as the board.
This is a suspension that we've handled as a board, yeah.
And then
the rest?
The suspensions that were handled by the suspensions that have to be handled by the acting CEO, because there were staff members below what the board can suspend. Is that also are all those processes? So everyone that's under suspension at RAF at the moment, would you say that they've been served with their charge sheets and they know what they are being suspended for?
Okay. If I may, Honorable Governor, I may ask the chair of RAMCO, who deals with those matters, just to talk to that.
Thank you, Chair, through you, Chair, and Honorable Ghana. I think I'll take because your question is in 2 parts. You're speaking about the suspensions that we inherited when we came. And they are in 3 categories. There would have been people suspended, and when you put together, it's between 4 to 6 years before we even came. Long suspensions. One category of those are those who are undergoing disciplinary processes. The second category, those in the CCMA. And the third category, those who are in the labor court. And once we came in, we reviewed all of these kind of suspensions. We're clear in our mind that we don't want to be reckless, we don't want to interfere with CCMA processes because they must take its course. And in areas in the DC processes where the DC chairs are at an advanced stage, we don't want to enter that space. And then we then reviewed also the suspensions at the labor court and so on, where RAF took or appealed and therefore was not happy, and we reviewed and including taking legal opinion on those. And out of that process, as we sit here today, there's 10 that has been lifted, their suspension. People who must come back and be reintegrated. And what we're waiting for now are these advanced DC outcomes, as well as those in the labor court, which involves a lot of money, and the CCMA. Otherwise, it was a very untenable situation that we found, where DC chairs would have taken long, even after they had concluded the process. It would take months to even give a verdict about the outcome of a particular suspension, and some chairs would get sick at a critical point when there's supposed to be a verdict and judgment in terms of the firm of lawyers, because we're using external people to do that. Part of the reason why it took so long, it's also because of those. And we have now suggested an internal process of training our own staff to become the chairs, so that we have a control in the process. Maybe I'll pause there for now, Chair.
Last one, Chair, and if time permits later on, you will you could give me other one. How many of the, as acting CEO, there would have been revelations happening during the SCOPA hearings? So SCOPA hearings, unlike the Madlanga, does not have an interim report. So it's working on an interim report, but you are watching, you see the deliberations. How many of those revelations that have come through the SCOPA processes, especially as it relates to procurement, has yourself as the acting CEO now said, all right, maybe here there's a possibility to act without having to wait for the SCOPA report, because the SCOPA report, the terms of reference might not, so the revelations are here, but the report will be more at the macro level. So with some of the cases relating to procurement that you have, that we asked for in KZN, texture, texture of the actions on the side of
Don't abuse my time like your neighbor did, but it's fine.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Ghana, we have picked up a number of matters arising from SCOPA. It's a host of issues, contracts, extensions, and violation of the SCM processes. What we have then since done is that we have commissioned a broader risk assessment and root cause analysis around our SCM space, just so that we don't deal with the symptoms of what could be exposing the organization, but to get the crux of what exactly in its systemic environment could be the problem. So at this stage, we continue to note the SCOPA findings, and some of matters coming out of SCOPA have already been referred to FID for forensic review because some are clearing. And those that are not clearing, they suggest that we have systemic issues. So we have then since considered to review our entire SCM regime with a view of knowing where we're going to fix and maybe to also get a sense of how much is the reach of the problem that we're sitting with. At this stage, the work is underway. Thank you.
Maybe, Chair, what I can add one aspect to what the SCOPA report will find already underway is that we have already some time back made an application to the President through DOJ for the expansion of the SIU proclamation into the Road Accident Fund, because as you would know, it went up to 2021. And it is our considered view that you would need to expand that. And we are quite hopeful we're going to receive a favorable response in that regard. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thanks, Chair. So I'm not sure whether the comments were you are intimidating me, Chair.
No.
Oh, okay.
You are my dear brother. I wouldn't intimidate a dear brother.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Chair. Once again, greetings at DM, greetings colleagues. Yeah, it's been a bumpy ride with the Road Accident Fund. And sometimes when we engage with this entity, emotions will run high. Simply because we are very jealous of the people we represent. And when we see systematic collapse, deliberate systematic collapse, we frown upon. And I think as part of those observations, that's what we thought was happening at DRAF. And we still hold that view, by the way, that there's a lot of smoke screen that is created around the Road Accident Fund in an attempt to derail the Road Accident Fund from transformation. It seems as if there are a lot of people that benefit from this entity. It's lack of ability to, transform and to be better. So, Chair, we are going to canvass this towards the end because you spoke about an IT system that informs the claimants of the status of their claims. And I can tell you now, we are going to get resistance on that. Because people don't want there are people who are involved with this entity who do not want claimants to know what is due to them. And that's what we are dealing with here. As the AFF, we are dealing with thousands of cases, and I'm sure you guys are tired of us now. We are sending you cases every day of people who are saying, I've got my lawyer is telling me my case is due, and say, that's what we are dealing with here. And now, there might have been challenges with the previous executive and the board and everything else, but at the center of everything else was the resistance for the entity to do better, to have updated systems and all of that. And as you move forward and you do your work, I hope that you don't get the same assistance. So we're going to canvass a few issues, board chair and DM, that I might need clarity. By the way, Mr. Brown, I appreciate your tone today. I think the first time we interfaced on the virtual platform, we sort of had a problem to say, this comrade is addressing us in a very unwelcoming manner. So I think you've entered the space and
That's the reason why, without disrupting you, I wanted to attach a face to response.
So I think we are good there. But we get the sense of the work that is being tried to done, and the smoke screen will clear. Now look, I'm interested in the issue of the AG, because the AG has sat with us as well. And I don't think that the AG has canvassed what is being portrayed now, that there was a total collapse of the entity. At the center of what the AG was saying was this issue of the accounting standard. And I just need clarity on this. So, and Boche, also, the last slide you presented, which spoke about your strategy session that we didn't have, and it spoke about that one right there. I don't know why you didn't give us the slide, and I don't want to presume that there's something that you are hiding from us. It says the withdrawal of the AGSA versus RAF, that court case. So you've withdrawn that. So give me clarity on that. Why did you withdraw that? And what then becomes the implication of that withdrawal in relation to the case of discovery? That's one. But two, what then is the position of the board in our relation to the accounting standard and the classification of RAF? So do you guys accept that RAF must then continue to be classified as an insurer instead of a benefit fund? Because that's what we've been dealing with, to say these are the pertinent issues. We understand everything else about the backlogs and everything else, which are a challenge, and those are systematic issues that can be solved out. But this issue of the AG, which is at the center of everything else, just take me into confidence in that. Why did you withdraw in court? What's then your position as the board in terms of the accounting standard? And then how do you proceed to move forward in terms of the classification?
Thanks, Honorable Brose. Firstly, apologies for making the amendments on the slides and not sending it through. Actually, last night when we were chatting with the CEO, one actually missed this part to say we're talking about the problem and we're resolving a bit, but we didn't have a clear roadmap so that we can commit ourselves basically to that. So the intention was not to mislead you. But I'll ask the Deputy Chair to just go in quite a bit of the details on the accounting standards matter and the case between the Auditor General in the Constitutional Court there. Disse?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I think as a board, the stance we are taking at the moment is to shy away from being in the middle of defining RAF. Whether RAF is an insurer or RAF is a social benefit fund. So the aim was to find an accounting framework that, first of all, complies with the requirements and the laws of the country, so that as RAF, we are not sitting with a disclaimer. And among the bodies of the accounting framework that we looked at as a board, because we have quite a few accountants, fortunately, within the board, moved us to GRAP 19. So GRAP 19 is a standard that is allowed and can be used in South Africa. And the benefit is that it then gives you the value chain and takes you from beginning to end with how you can classify a liability. The burden at the moment is to ensure that the liability is classified properly, and the burden is to also ensure that whoever is engaging with our financial statements has sufficient information that will then allow them to make critical decisions. So nowhere currently as a board have we put a peg on the ground to say that we are classifying RAF as an insurer or we are classifying RAF as a social benefit fund. Yeah, so then it doesn't put us in a situation where Discovery can say, as a consequence of GRAP 19, you are now an insurer, or as a consequence of GRAP 19, you are a social benefit fund. Thank you.
Chair, I just want to check if we are following the same style of engagement that was set as precedence by Honorable Ghana without abusing your time.
Yeah, I granted them that. No, I granted them that opportunity to, given the number of members present. Yeah.
Chair, if I may then, because I think it would be a dereliction of duty not to react to the introduction that Honorable Plose advances, that there's a smoke screen, that we are overplaying what a deliberate systematic collapse of RAF. Chair, I want to indicate for the record again that RAF was in trouble. And it required and necessitated decisions. There is no smoke screen here. The workers at RAF will tell you about the difficulties they endured in a toxic work environment. We've got workers of RAF in hospital as we speak now because of the work environment. And I'm very happy because Parliament, of course, doesn't work in isolation. The inquiry that is underway, which we have cooperated with, and the board has appeared, the DG has appeared, the DDGs have appeared, both of them are here for SOC oversight and roads. It will all tell us at the end of the day that we were not crazy. That's good, Makand. Every attempt to give benefit of the doubt from the onset of the 7th administration to rationalize with the board and to ensure that the right things were done was given. This committee experienced some of the governance lapses yourselves on the virtual platform that the Honorable Plose references today. So I think, Chair, it would be wholly irresponsible to make the assertion that is being made. But we are prepared, Chair, to subject ourselves to this committee on the substantive matters. But I don't think it's fair to call it a smokescreen, because then what it means, what the board has presented here, which I would want to believe is good work, is doubt is being cast on it. Here's the last point. I agree with Honorable Plosser on one point. There is no reform that is going to happen at REF without resistance. There will be resistance. That's why the REPS bill at the floor of the House, when everything had been done The Portfolio Committee on Transport had processed it. A report was compiled. It served on the ATC. It was debated, but was never voted on. So we are keenly aware that there will be resistance. We are also keenly aware to the fact that what we are trying to do is place emphasis on the claimant. Hence all these initiatives, including the outreach initiatives. The chairperson of the board earlier on indicated we are placing a high premium on direct claims to, amongst others, deal exactly with the kind of gatekeeping that lawyers are engaging in insofar as ensuring people receive their claims. We are cleaning that ecosystem up. The community outreach projects that we are doing, amongst others, are paying claimants. And the last point is this. We can't, Chair, at the same time, be ignorant to the reality that if you engage the ref through a lawyer, we are not in a position, and ref is not in a position, to then bypass your lawyer. So what is incumbent on ref is two things. Public education about the due processes of ref, and the second one is ease of access for those processes to mitigate the risk of lawyers, whilst we bring about the legislative reforms that are critical. Thank you, Chair.
No, thanks for that intervention. Honorable Blosser?
No, thanks, Chair. We will debate this with the DM some other time. We have agree and have disagree, and it's always the case when it comes to RAF. So I've accepted. Colleagues, we support you. You've got our support. So you must never feel as if we're against everything that you are doing. Hence, I'm saying that the tone of Mr. Brown is appreciated. The work that you are doing is appreciated. We see it. But when we see things that seems to be deliberate, we become worried. You know, the entity, we frown upon changes in executives. I think you've had 3 or 4 CEOs since, the storm. For us, that doesn't speak to stability. The appointment of Mr. Janchin to the board was a cause for concern for us, because we saw him a month later appointed as a fundraiser of the ANC in the Western Cape. The next thing is a member of the board, and we're like, Ivan, what's happening? So those things do not bring confidence towards us. And that's what I'm saying. And then when you are here and you clarify certain of these issues, we're like, okay, no, let's work. Because at the end of the day, we want stability of this entity. Now, again, I don't know who's going to speak to this. I want to speak to the RAF 1 form. Because this exactly speaks to what I'm saying. So tell me now, Mr. Brown, you say you want to phase out this form. So what is wrong with the RAF 1 form? Why now must it be phased out? What is it that the RAF 1 form requires that is a hindrance, which ordinarily you won't need to pay a claim? Is there something that the RAF 1 form requires that you actually don't need to pay a claimant, which is then become a hindrance? Because I want to understand why is it, because previously we got the impression as this committee that the RAF 1 form is a transformative form. It seeks to assist the RAF to determine its claims and its liabilities for ease of access and everything else. You are coming up and saying, no, this form, we want to phase it off, we don't need it. So tell us what is wrong with this form.
No, thanks, Honorable Blose. In fact, when I met with the CEO at his office, I asked the company sec to print the form. And then I gave it to him and say, fill it in. Maybe he will narrate his experience in filling it in. Right? So maybe let me allow him to do that. Then you're going to start to see that there's a cumbersome form. It requires a lot of information from people even before claiming that. But let him go through that particular kind of detail. That.
Thank you. Honorable Plus, you would appreciate that running a scheme like a fund, one would expect that the process is seamless. It's so seamless that anybody else can easily claim. And if need be, direct claimants can actually do it with ease for themselves. The type of the rough one form that we have is quite complex. I mean, you can't give it to anybody else. I mean, I couldn't even completely, finalize the application, simulating one for myself. And that starts to demonstrate that there's a need for rethinking how the claim journey goes. The discussions earlier on by Chair were referencing modernization. That's exactly where the modernization is looking into, to say it should be enabling the organization to manage as many claims as quickly as possible. It should enable the claimants not to have a longer waiting time, but that is by design. With how it's designed, we will need to look into it. And I mean, without saying the obvious, it's been subjected to a number of lawsuits, and that in itself makes it complex to continue envisioning it as a sustainable anchor of our point of entry into the system. I mean, it also uses one single language, which is English. It doesn't necessarily have other languages which are present in the country. So that begins to demonstrate that it would be important to rethink how simplistic our claiming process should be. And that talks to the direct claim process. You want to be able to be like your typical fund, UIF, where I don't need a lawyer to go Cuba UIF. It's in and out. So we're looking at that to say why our environment is so uniquely complex. Why other funds, and I call it fund because in the Act it refers to as a fund. Why is our fund that complex, and why does it have to have such dependencies on many things for them to be a complete claims that we can then pay? So we're looking into that for purely simplifying the environment, for purely modernizing the space, such that we talk to the issues of containing the costs by simply doing business easier. I hope I've answered. Thank you.
No, thanks, colleagues. And the reason I asked this is because part of the greater concern as well was that RAF, in the default claims that everyone is crying about that are in court, a big chunk of them were also from what you will call a blank file. I think your colleagues will understand this, whereby someone will come. This is now why the Ref 1 form was introduced. This is what we were told. Because a lawyer will come in to RAF, register a claim without the necessary documentation, and then the RAF Act says, 180 days, then you are liable for that or whatever the issue, and then RAF is taken to court, and then you just pay a claimant with a blank file without the relevant documentation and all of those things. And the RAF on forms wanted to mitigate against that. That's what we were told, right? So if then you are going to phase it out, then I hope whatever you introduce does not then benefit the lawyers again. Because the lawyers were scamming RAF if that was the case. That's what we were told, right? Now, if there's resistance against RAF on form, and then we are told, no, the lawyers are putting pressure because they still want to benefit through RAF, through illegal claims that they are putting that are not even legitimate, because RAF has got no capacity within it to establish whether a claim is legitimate or not once it has been registered without the necessary documentation. Because if I come in and I register a claim and then I don't put the necessary documents and I can still get paid, then there is a problem in the system. And that's what the RAF 1 form was seeking to mitigate. That's what we were told. But we will monitor that. Let's come to a legal defense strategy. Again, you are now speaking, it sounds like, Boche, you want to bring back the panel of attorneys. Again, something else that was done away with. Is that now your position? Do you want to bring back this panel of attorneys, or how do you want to deal with this thing?
Yeah. Look, on that, Honorable Bloze, is the team is going to look at the pros and cons of each of the options at the end of the day. Right? But current evidence of the state attorney model tells us that on its own, it can't deal with the avalanche of cases that are actually getting onto the court roll. Yeah. So we're looking making an independent assessment of that, and then saying, look, do we keep it? Do we support it with a panel? Do we have a hybrid model? So we are ventilating all of that, and a proposal will be made in the next week or so at our opposite meeting on how we're going to basically move with that. Now, accompanied with that is we've got over 400 vacancies within the legal environment itself. How do we fill that in? So we're looking at the entire value chain of legal and say, what are our options, basically. And based on that, we will come with a way forward for ourselves on how we're going to deal with that.
Chair, sorry, Honourables, I just want to make an addition.
If you could.
That we have already, and once this is concluded, at that departmental to departmental level, and we are working with REF, we are also engaging with the Department of Justice to, amongst others, say how can we better manage REF cases on the roll. We are now awaiting a date from the judiciary because they have issues about some of the elements and aspects of how REF cases are presented and handled. Secondly, we are working on the introduction of mediation for cases. Because, Chair, what is substantively always the key area of disagreement is not the facts of the claim. It's the quantum that you have to pay. Now, we believe that if mediation is part of our interventions, we will be able to assist. I can even go as far as saying, Chair, we mulled over the establishment of a tribunal with the status of a high court just for the purposes of dealing with REF cases. But of course that takes its own time because we were trying to borrow the model from the SIU, which has got the special tribunal. But that also requires a legislative process. So the question is, what can we do now? There is best experience in some of the jurisdictions. Mpumalanga, for example, Limpopo, for example. But you'll understand that the majority of our cases are in the Gauteng division. So we obviously need to work better, faster, and smarter within that ecosystem. And so what we're trying to do is find a model that works with them above and beyond the assessments that need to be done. Lastly, Chair, is this. Honourable Bloss, I think you will have an appreciation of the fact that the environment in which REF has been and was found, you would want to test the rationality and reasonableness of decisions taken and satisfy yourself that they were taken in the interests of REF. Right? So assessing the panel of attorneys ecosystem does not presume that you are undoing what was done. It means that we understand that there were governance failures within REF, and therefore we need to test the decisions as part of the roadmap moving forward. So an assessment and a review does not mean undoing. It means making an informed decision to be able to move forward. So, Chair, we are trying to work with, we are working with DOJ. Deputy Minister Nell is leading a very high-level departmental delegation of the ecosystem of justice, just as we are doing, and trying to find each other to assist REF be able to navigate the court system with one outlook, Chair, to make sure that speedily and efficiently the claimants are able to access their funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that intervention, TM. Honourable.
No, thanks for the intervention, DM. Again, so when we question these decisions, comrades, it's not because we are cutting down on you, right? But for us, it's continuation. So we had a board, they gave us the explanations. You are coming in with a different perspective, and you're an interim board, so in the next 6 months you won't be here. And I'm told some of you didn't even apply. I don't know why you comrades didn't apply, because we must hold you accountable on your decisions. Now the next thing, we'll be sitting with new board members, and they're going to say to us, that interim board, they took the wrong decision. We are reviewing this thing. So for us, we want to see the flow of governance within the organization, so that we are able to track and trace to say why are certain decisions taken and why certain decisions are not taken. And that's why we are saying, I'm giving you that reference, that the previous administration did this. You are coming in with a different approach. What is your thinking around that? So that when we consolidate our work as well, we are able to see if the organization has been taken at the right position. So what's the status of the suspended executives? I think the last time we were here, you had board chair, you had suspended the CFO, and I know the CEO's contract has expired, but the CFO is she still suspended, and are the other executives that are currently on suspensions, which their cases needs to be dealt with? What the current status on that?
Thanks. As I've indicated earlier on, charges have been served there, and the current process is where we are now setting up the system for the disciplinary hearings.
Okay, that's fine. All right, and then the last one on my side, Chair. It's that IT system that we all wanted to talk about. So is that something that is just still a plan? So there's nothing that you guys have ventilated on it, because I tell you why that is important for me. We need to find a way, and I know that the DM has ventilated this, that the RAF seems, and for me it's problematic, whereby the RAF seems to say that it doesn't really have a relationship with claimants, but it has a relationship with lawyers of the claimants. And then that's why the abuse on the claimants is there, because the lawyers understand this very well, that RAF will, because of how RAF is actually structured, which we understand. But I feel as if that there has to be an approach whereby we are saying that as an entity, we are able to have a relationship with those who seek to benefit from the fund, because the beneficiaries of the fund are not the lawyers. So if our communication is only to end there, because when we come to a case that, as you were saying, Poche, you pay a lawyer R1 billion, and then they keep that money for a year, governing so that they can accumulate interest, which they are not going to pass back to the claimant. It's fraud, it's fraud. And they are also keeping money from the people who need to benefit from the fund. So we need to find a way that, I don't know, when we pay a lawyer R1 billion, the claimant must know that their lawyer has been paid. And we cannot then want as an entity to, remove ourselves from that responsibility. So say, no, we don't have a responsibility to inform our claimants. So are we developing such a system that will, allow our claimants to access them? Because there was a call center, and I don't know whether the call center played that role, but we do need an IT system that will play that role and mitigate that factor. And then what is it that we are doing as an entity when these lawyers do not then take the relevant amounts that have been given and they give them to the relevant claimant? So the direct question is that, is this IT system still just a brainchild of the board? Nothing has been done about it, and what's the process into developing such a system? Thank you.
It is at the business case level now. They're looking at that, because the board is of the view, actually, that that system shouldn't be a difficult system, basically just to embed actually on our website. I'm not an IT guy, but logic actually tells me that. What we're looking at as part of that business case is legally what is permissible, given the power of attorney relationship between the plaintiff and the attorney. Basically there. What information can we share? What information is accessible basically there? But where I sit, right, we can actually, I don't think that would be a legal problem, where you come in with your link number or your ID number and we give you information that says, we have paid your attorney and this is the capital amount that we've paid. I need to be challenged legally, actually, on that. But this is where our thinking is. And we're pushing executives to say, in the next 3 to 6 months, there needs to be something. All right? And we'll take it from there.
I would imagine that was your last question. Honorable Mlotan.
Sorry, I just want to check for the record if Honorable Bloss is done. Because Chairperson, if he is, there's a matter I would like to raise at the end of this meeting. Thank you.
Honorable DM, if there's a matter you want to raise at the end of the meeting, how does that have to do with Honorable Bloss having finished?
No, then maybe Chair can raise it now.
Okay.
Because on the 5th of February, Honorable Blosser made a public comment casting an aspersion on me that I need to be reminded that it is a criminal offense to mislead Parliament, borrowing from work that had been done in another committee on matters of the Road Accident Fund. And so I had anticipated and hoped that he would have the courage of his convictions to put that to me here. But to cast that aspersion on me publicly, because it's a matter related to REF and accusing me of misleading Parliament. So that's why I'm checking for the record if it's done. So that if he is, and what I wanted to therefore raise, Chair, is that I therefore intend on writing to the Speaker. So I didn't want you to be surprised. Uguti, why is there a matter now with the Speaker? From a rough matter here in Parliament, from a member of this portfolio committee. That's the issue I want to raise, Chairperson.
Okay, no, I understand the context now. As the questions will be from Honorable Mlotani and Honorable Malumaja, I'll be applying my mind on how do I intervene to the extent that you don't have to write the letter to the Speaker and Honorable Bloss, you need to find each other. I'll apply my mind to that effect so that we find a resolve here. Yeah.
Do I need to respond, Chair?
No. You don't have to respond because the matter is not raised to you, it's raised to me. I wanted to understand the context. I did not have that privilege to even know of that public utterance you would have made and the context thereof. So I didn't want to subject the committee to your outside this committee discussion with Honorable DM, but to the extent that it has it one way or another borders on the functions of the committee, I would want to implore on it as we move forward. And I'll come to it as we conclude on how I think we must handle on. Hence, I'm saying I'm trying to summon my collective thoughts together as other honorable members are asking questions on how and what could be the best way of resolving the matter so that we don't escalate it. If there's a way we can resolve it here amongst ourselves. Honorable Mlotani, thanks very much for joining us. I must indicate we did not introduce Honorable Mlotani earlier on because she was on the other committee. We requested her to stand in because we compromised in terms of quorum. So we requested her to stand in. I'm not sure whether she's empowered to ask questions. And I think, yeah, like you said, we can fight and learn at the same time. So if you have some questions, you can come in.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Deputy Minister. And good morning, RAF members who are here. Chairperson, I think I have few questions. My first question, there's been weak internal controls, poor oversight and dysfunctional leadership structure in the RAF, which one might see this is one that has causes and have created condition in which a fraud and corruption takes place. I just want to know what strategies are in place to deal with systematic and fraud corruption at RAF.
I'll ask the Deputy Chair, through you, Chair, just to get into that.
No, thank you for that question, Honorable Member. The Audit and Risk Committee has been thoroughly engaged with that matter as one of our key responsibilities and issues that we're looking at. So at the moment, one of our key interventions was to ask our combined assurance team to do a deep dive of what are some of the key issues so that as a committee, we're not talking generics. We have a thorough and a better understanding of where some of the weaknesses and some of the issues are coming from. So one of the key issues, Honorable Member, is that if you look at the internal audit reports as well as the AG reports, we have lots of findings that have been articulated to the RAF dating back years. And if some of those findings, both from internal audit as well as from the AGSA, were properly addressed within the time span and driven by the previous executive committee as well as the board, we would slowly, like any other entity, over time, be mitigating and strengthening the controls. However, we're sitting with situations where a high number of these findings, and some of them even branded as critical internal control weaknesses, have not been addressed. And hence, we are now embarking via the CEO's office on a project task team to deal specifically with that. And then to ensure that as ARC members, we hold them accountable with timelines. But based on also the review of just the board, we are also au fait of the fact that the current team is engaged and on a day-to-day basis with their current operation. There's a lot at hand for them to deal with. Therefore, Chair has touched on it earlier, that it's also imperative for us as a board to empower management with external help that can come and start to assist the RAF to deal with some of the weaknesses. So we're looking at experts to also just come help us do some mapping and flow charting of the systems and help us strengthen the controls. Thank you, Honourable.
Yes, Honourable Lozan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I've just heard the response, but I'm worried. The more you hear the response, the more the questions come up. As it the chair, the deputy chair was talking about the findings, and I'm worried with the timeline. When are you going to address those challenges that have been identified by AG and you haven't touched them? The timeline, how long are you going to? When can we expect the report where you are going to finish the portfolio that those challenges have been resolved?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Honourable Member, we've given ourselves between 3 to 6 months because we are still trying to engage help of external service providers that will then work alongside the board. People like entities like people with SAP expertise and some of the internal technology that is being used with those expertise to assist the board. However, our target is between 3 to 6 months.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just want to check regarding the issue of filing. I just want to check regarding the issue of filling of critical position. When are you going to address those critical position, especially that we have an acting position in managers, senior managers, and executives? When are you going to address that filling of critical position? The reason being that you've just mentioned that you have so many employees who are working under a lot of pressure, others are in hospital and so forth. But when are you going to fill those positions in order to assist those ones who are under a lot of pressure? Thank you.
Thanks, Honourable Lotsan. I'll just ask the Chair of RAMCO just to come in there.
No, thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. We have already started when we came in August. One of the things that was clear was that there's instability in RAF because of lack of leadership and high levels of vacancy. And the minister would have impressed on us to prioritize that issue. You would have heard the DM indicating that we started at the top. We advertised, interviewed the position of the CEO, and the DM has responded where that is now. And then we also advertised 2 other top positions of the Chief Claims Officer, as well as the Chief Corporate Support, which we're hoping that immediately when the CEO comes in, we're going to, because we're respecting that we don't fill in those positions that report to the CEO, and then the CEO comes in and kind of find, and we thought that it's better if we delay a bit, having advertised, and we're at a point of where we have a long list on those 2 critical positions. And then further down, then the process, once we attended to the issue of Section 189, it then allowed us to start the process of placement, because also that contributed to this high kind of level of vacancies. And the placement, as from December, there's been a project plan to start that placement process where people get to be placed, deployed in certain positions, something that was not happening for quite a number of years. It was halted, as you would have received the report. So that process has started. We still have a challenge in the legal section that the chair touched on, in terms of those critical positions which are very relevant to the claims operations and so on, and we are attending to that. So there's a process underway where we're unlocking the staff placements and also filling in the critical vacancies.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me just raise my final question. Thank you. I also want to, can you, acting CEO, provide explanation on the legal defense strategy, which is looking at state attorney vis-a-vis attorney panel, and how could this assist REF and solve some of the challenges? Thank you, Chair.
I guess that's for you, acting CEO.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Honorable Member. I think it's important to start by putting context in terms of where the problem lies. We have a systemic problem, and it's not only reconfiguring the legal attorney model would be a solve to it. I mean, we have a number of things that we still need to go through and redefine. We have considered putting together a preventative task force to purely deal with default judgments. And this is because, as it stands today, there is no specific place where these are being dealt with robustly. We also have identified where we need to then deal with Simon's management centralization. This is, I mean, the reason why we are having challenges such as default judgment is because our Simon's handling is not centralized. There's no single view of where a particular Simons is in the organization. So these are parts of the systemic problems that I'm referring to say it's not only reconfiguring of the model on attorneys that would deal with the problem. There are other matters that we need to make sure that they set the scene for even that consideration to land correctly. And we have also taken into account that we have a very heavy workflow on cases. So we want to have a case line that would centralize all of this so that one can have a single view of where the matters are and how that matter is being dealt with. And that begins to also then talk to preparing in terms of how we then go into onboard the considered hybrid model on that. It's an assessment that would need to be conducted in terms of how best to model that. And it goes without saying that our largest challenge is volume. And that has demonstrated that the current state attorney model can't necessarily, in its current form, even if you were to populate the structure fully, would be able to handle the type of challenges that we deal with from a legal administration point of view. So we are considering any option that would augment the structure and enable it to serve the intended purpose. Hope that answers. Thank you.
You're satisfied. Honorable Masina, thanks very much for joining us, the chair of the TIC. At least now we can be safe that these engagements opened under a full quorum, because we're running out of quorum, and these engagements were likely to be null and void if we did not reach the quorum. And the implication will be there because colleagues moved all the way from Joburg to here, and that's a with exorbitant flight tickets at DM. Yeah, so that's the issue. But Honorable Malmacha, if you can come in so that we move towards closing now. Towards the last few questions and we close.
No, thanks. DM, South Africans were much disturbed about what happened, especially during the time of Letswalo, and the manner in which he left the entity. And they thought this matter will come to an end. But where we are now, watched by many of them, the matter is still on and on. Every Sunday is on the newspaper. During the week is all over. And what makes things worse, the very same people who contributed to his suspension, whether right or wrong, they were later suspended. Now, can you really take us into confidence as to how far is this matter, so that whatever confusion is out there is cleared, yourselves and ourselves seated here?
Which matter, Honorable Malmacha?
The matter that Mr. Letswalo is claiming that he has been wrongly suspended.
All right.
And for a mere fact that there were people who were later suspended, who he claims that if he was wrong, why are they too suspended?
Chairperson, my understanding of the situation is that the former CEO of REF was suspended by the board. And on the 6th of August, his term of office expired, it ended. And therefore, no further disciplinary processes could be taken forward with the former CEO, because he was no longer within the establishment of the Road Accident Fund. The REF had a contractual relationship with him. It ran its course, it expired. The matter ends there. The suspensions of the subsequent, the executives, I think the board has been trying to explain the reasons and rationale and where the process is. I would be, therefore, want to be very careful not to enter into the board processes about those suspensions, just as we were careful not to enter into suspensions effected by the previous board. The only intervention, Honorable Chairperson, that was made by us during that period when there was those suspensions was that the board and the CEO received an invitation from SCOPA, and the board took a decision not to honor that invite. When they later did a U-turn, it was after I sent correspondence directing that we cannot, as entities and departments, set the terms and conditions of a parliamentary invitation to appear before a committee. It would be irregular, and it would be contrary to the dictates of oversight and accountability, which we have to subject ourselves to. So I directed that they must subject themselves to the parliamentary process. The triggers, therefore, of the suspension happened at that time because of that defiance that took place there. But the long and short of it, Honorable Malmach, is that the former CEO, his term of office expired, and the matter respectfully ends there, because whatever disciplinary processes may now would have been underway cannot be taken forward. The board, as I've said to them, they must move with speed to finalize the disciplinary processes of the executives so that we can bring about clarity within the executive ecosystem of the Road Accident Fund. And I think they are keenly aware of that and are working towards that. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Malmacho.
Through you, Chair. DM, is there a court case between RAF and Mr. Lzalo?
Case between RAF, not to. There may be a CCMA case, but I'm not sure if. But can I ask the chair of REMCO and the DG to respond to that?
No problem.
Thank you, DM, and through you, Chair. The former CEO has challenged us at the CCMA. He has taken us to the CCMA. We were at the CCMA on arbitration with him on matters of bonus. That's what we have in place, because we would have declined bonuses, but we're at the CCMA on that matter with the former CEO.
Chair. Is that Mr. Mungoyan? Is that Matabata?
Yes, Chair.
You have been very quiet and you deliberately sit at the back. I've been asking myself that who's this one who looks like you? Yeah, I see.
I've been asked to be a backbencher, Chair. Chair, Honorable Chair, and honorable members, good morning. No, Chair, I think the issue around Mr. Lzalo's suspension was also ventilated through the courts. And I don't need to go very far, I just need to consult that judgment, because it talks also about the issues about promises of future employment and or expectations around security of China in there. So that has been dealt and handled with at the court level. I think we heard also from news that there might be an appeal process, which has not happened during the time that it was supposed to be launched. So the only issue and the matter is what the chair of REMCO is talking about, the CCMA process, and it's about the bonus. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I think our response ends there on that one, and thanks, DG, for that reminder that the matter went to court and a judgment came out, and then the suspension was upheld and the term of office subsequently expired.
Honorable Malmacho.
Through you, Chair, I think it must be known that wherever Mr. Lzalo get a chance, he says, I was suspended because I was to be re-employed or my contract was to be re-signed. And he's keep making that as a strong statement against to say the matter is over because I'm out of the contract. And in a normal situation, everybody will have that and want to utilize that. So it is not by mistake, it's what is in the public domain. It must be known and that must not be repeated. if there are issues, a person must be given a fair trial in that particular and close the matter. I'm saying this because the damage that is causing is coming back to where we find that some of the issues, in particular for the claimant, are not honored because he kept saying there are issues that they did not want me to finish. Of more important, he raised some allegations that I'm not in a good position to put, but discoveries time and again on his mouth. I'm saying, let me hint at that. Chair,
Chairperson, if I may respond to that.
If you could allow that.
Chairperson, let me, and I agree with Honorable Manmacha, we cannot, Chairperson, and will not be held responsible for what Mr. Letwalo says in public. Those are his own assumptions. What I can put here is that when the board took a decision to suspend Mr. Letwalo, what they communicated to us was around insubordination, refusal to subject himself to an instruction to appear before Parliament. That was all. So the question, Honorable Malmat, cannot arise that he was refused reappointment because the matter never arose. It never. We asked the board that to avoid the situation we are in now of acting CEO, to begin the process of the appointment of the CEO to enable the minister to make an appointment. The board does not have the authority or the power to appoint the CEO. The Act does not empower the board to do so. It is the minister who can do so. And the minister is only at this point in receipt of a board's recommendation around the CEO and is processing it, as I said earlier on. Any other thing, Honorable Malmat, is not on the desk of the ministry and does not arise that the minister took a decision, because it only could have been the minister to take a decision to appoint or not reappoint Mr. Letwalo. She was not in a position to take that decision because that was not presented to her, nor was it presented to myself, as the minister has delegated draft to me. And therefore the matter never even went to cabinet. So I just thought, of course, there will be all sorts of things, but for the record, the minister is only now dealing with the process of the appointment of the CEO because the board has concluded its process. Thank you.
Honorable Macho. Thank you very much. Through you, Chair. Let's agree that we leave Letwalo matter now. And we appreciate your efforts in stabilizing the entity. We have no quarrel on that, especially administratively. Now, there are, when we do our constituency work, we are approached by a number of those who are in business, who are doing business with you, either to assist the claimant at some stage, the medical experts to be specific. But their problem is the very same way that you are not paying claimant in time. They too are affected. In totality, what is your strategy to ensure that this year or this term, we have a situation where REF is not on the newspaper for such issues of not paying in time? And at what point do we really say this can be presented to us so that at the end of the day we know that we are running on a clean slate? I have a case in hand that many of you, we phoned you without pointing names. And to make things worse, a chair, ref, is found to be not necessarily having records, because the party says time and again is requested to resend what they've sent last week. They have to resend what they sent last month, as they've done some years. Then we are saying, no, now there are improvements. We are saying, can you really take us into confidence in dealing with this matter and clear this air so that once and for all we know that we don't owe people because we got the money. Thanks, Chair.
You want to say something, TM, on that?
Chair, Honorable Malmacha and us are on the same page. We have asked the board, as the priorities were stated in the outset of the slide, payments to claimants are an apex priority. Dealing with the backlog is an apex priority. Just as you are giving us cases, Honorable Blosse was telling us about his 1,000 and the cases you are referring to the extent to which that even in my own office, I've had to set up a REF operational center of some sort just to process REF correspondence with the REF on a weekly basis, because we are, and so Minister the same, so that we can give responses. The outreach programs are all intended, amongst others, to unlock where people have, just one example, one person when we were in Jozini, there's just a signature was required. It was the last thing. And it was done and it was paid. So the paper-heavy nature of REF is also problematic. And so that is why the IT digitalization program needs to be followed through. Functionality at our regional offices is of critical importance. Again, Honorable Malmacha, I reiterate, generally, the issue is never the merits or demerits of the claim. The issue is how much we have to pay. And that is why we are wanting to move speedily on the issue of mediation so that we can settle claims. The board set a target of paying almost 4 billion rands per month over 6 months, every month. And that is why I was asking, therefore, for that slide, because I want to segue now into it, asking for that slide to be presented. So we are really focused on that. It is a problem. We're not going to shy away from it. We've got claims as far back as 2013, claims as far back as 2018. It is an unacceptable situation. I'll be the first one to concede to that. And it is my expectation that above and beyond all that the board is doing, this must always be at the fore of their mind. When they're doing disciplinary cases, run those cases, but pay people. When you're doing reforms, IT, do that, but be paying people. So that's why I said earlier on, everything we are doing must run parallel, ensuring that core mandate and core function is paid. And lastly, and then the board will speak to this, of course, a claim has to be compliant. And that is important. And that's why I'm saying to the board, simplify the process for ease of access and ease of processing on what is expected to be a compliant claim. And then the board can now, Chair, just speak to this, because substantively then at the heart of Honorable Malmacha's question is the commitment they've made to pay, and the trajectory at which they are paying must be explained.
No, you can leave it, slide. This was the strategy. RAF gets about, is it close to 5.5 billion, 5 billion per month, right? So we then said, how much money do we need to have in the bank to run the administration, pay salaries or rentals and all of that, and keep that at that level. Every cent above that, we pay. But we make sure we've got money left to be able to run our administration. So that was part of it. But to the point that you are making, there are still these inefficiencies in the system. People coming into our offices, having, you come in, you filled in forms, you are told the following forms are outstanding. You spend an inordinate amount of money to go back home. Try and get all the information. You come back, and then you get told, no, whilst you've brought these other forms, we've now picked up that the following forms are not here at the end of the day. That is the problem and the reality that we are faced with, Honorable Malamachi. And this is the challenge for us to say in the shortest space of time, how do we solve this problem? And Tsepo is, where's Tsepo? He is being put under pressure. The CEO told me this morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, on a Friday, he goes with files and files home to go and sort out quite a lot of the matters, you see. So you can see the system is moving. It will take a bit of time, but we are going to get there. It's just a matter of when. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Chairman, I think I'm happy only to say, can you leap up to your mission? If you care, really care. It's not about the claimants alone, it's also those who are doing business with you. If we are to grow the economy, let's be ethical and ensure that people are paid in time, because there are many people who are dependent to those who are making business with you. Thank you so much, Chair.
I think, Chair, then we may have sort of missed it a bit. I think this is at the operational level and the settling of invoices and so on. If you could speak to that.
No, Honorable Malamachi, look, we rely, for example, on ambulances. The quicker an ambulance get to the scene and move an accident victim to a health facility, the better for the road accident fund, because in the long run, you know, the rest of the other claims gets mitigated for, all right? Now, what I said to Sean and to the CEO, those ones are very important just as much as paying the plaintiff attorneys and the claimants. Because if you don't pay these ones, it's going to have an adverse effect actually on the operations of RAF. Imagine an ambulance owner not going to a hospital, to a scene of an accident because they have not been paid. It's just horrendous. So the point you are making, we are very, very alive actually to that point, and the implications of not paying on time there.
Thank you very much.
Chair, just one follow-up question, Chair, on what Honorable Malamachi was raising. Just one, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a quick one. No, Mr. Brown, so the strategy is to pay everything and then keep money for operations. So one of the things that were coming out of SCOPA was the appointment of a chief investment officer. And I see you have kept that portfolio. So what's the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, look, on that, we have curtailed the responsibilities actually of that role for now. So you need to follow a process to do structural changes, basically, to the organization actually itself, right? So there's a general acceptance that the road accident fund is not an investment bank. It must pay out basically claimants, right? It may be in the future when the RAPS bill comes into play and you need to pay in annuities, for example. Then you need to have an investment strategy, capital requirements, basically to deal with. Then that part will basically come in. But given some of the issues that SCOPA has also just mentioned, for example, that if you say you've got, you want to drive technology and you don't have the capacity, why don't you appoint a chief information officer to drive the entire IT transformation, basically on that? Some of the issues that is coming up was to say, look, legal is such a big core of your business. Why is it not at an executive level, for example? So we are now at the point where we're taking all of this so that when you do an organizational change now, it takes into account actually everything there. Thanks.
You're fine. Honorable Ghana, I know you wanted to make some follow-up, but maybe before you come in, let me not reduce Honorable Masina to a kettle for now just come to assist the quorum without saying a word. You have something to say?
No, thank you very much. Greetings to the DM and the team, the board. I just wanted to ask about the because what we read, obviously in the media, about the critical vacancies not being filled, whether there are timelines that are being set by the board, including what the chair just raised now about reconfiguring the organization so that it's relevant to the modern day RAF that it should be. That's the first thing. The second thing is just around management and control and consequence management, which doesn't seem to be the case, as we saw that what is playing out, I think, which is being raised by Honorable Malimeja, is that there seemed to have been a huge vacuum on the SCM and no consequence management, whether or not there are plans in place to tighten that space, and what sort of confidence can be given to the committee for the purposes of oversight, so that the next round of reporting you are able to look for those signs moving forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah, DM.
No, thanks. What I will do, maybe just for the benefit of Mr. Masina, I'll just ask Mr. Janki to just quickly talk. He's the chair of RAMCO around that. And then I'll ask the CEO just to repeat the remarks he made on the SCM side.
Yeah, if you can quickly deal with it, Mr. Janki.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. Just to maybe to repeat and emphasize the point and to give assurance to Honorable Masina that we are tending to the matter of vacancies. Just 3 weeks when we were appointed as an interim board, we started advertisement for the top management, and we have concluded, for example, with the CO process, which is now in the desk of the minister, and the 2 top managers reporting have been advertised at a long list level, and then to address vacancies below that level, we have restarted the placement process of staff in various, and there's a project plan for that, which would have started in December, basically across the organization. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And my follow-up question would have been around that. And it might very well be that this information be submitted in writing, and I'll tell you why, Chair. The people that got suspended, or the employees that got suspended when the interim board came in, some of them were acting in the positions that they were suspended from. So let's say now the board decides to suspend the acting CEO. He's suspended as the acting CEO, not from the position that he was employed for. If audit. So the acting CEO, let's say he was to in his position as the acting CEO, he commits something that in the eyes of the board he transgresses. Then the board suspends the acting CEO as the acting CEO, which means that obviously he cannot perform his job as in audit because he's suspended. So there are employees that they were suspended when they were acting, and they were suspended for that acting position, not for the role that they were employed for at RAF. If you understand. So if you were to suspend the acting CEO, you're not suspending him for audit and risk. You are suspending him as acting CEO. So where I'm trying to get to is to get a sense, and you don't have to speak to this, to say these are the executives that are on suspension, and they were suspended in their acting capacity, but then they were employed in this particular capacity. And when we are looking for replacements, or you are busy recruiting, which of these positions cannot be appointed until the legal cases are concluded? So if you suspend the acting CEO, then you cannot go and appoint the head of audit and risk, because he is employed in that position. So you are in a way stopped from appointing audit and risk, because his cases are going through. So if we can get that sense, maybe in the form of writing to say, these are the executives that are on suspension, these were the positions that they were appointed for before they were elevated to an acting position. And which of these positions cannot be filled until the legal, the process, the disciplinary processes are filled. Because that will give us, Chair, a sense to say, even when the board or the CEO is appointed, realistically, which positions can be appointed until such time that the disciplinary processes have run their course? Because I will not want, it will not be right for the board or the executive to appoint someone when someone is on suspension on that role. So if we can get that information in writing. So when we met with the department last week, Chair, and we're dealing with the festive season, road fatalities and accidents, one of the issues that we raised there was the issue of awareness. You might remember that we raised the issue of awareness. And I know that RAF used to play a critical role, and we were told, Chair, that because of the role that RAF played in the awareness space and the marketing and that space, communications, around Easter on the N1, there was no fatality. You remember that
No.
Easter 2025, there was no fatality. So I want to get a sense, acting CEO, insofar as the road safety awareness, how is that happening? Because if I take what the board chair said, insofar as the ambulance, so taking it a step back to say, it's in the interest of RAF that actually there are less accidents. It's actually in the interest of RAF that there are less accidents or no accidents at all. Because to almost bring RAF at a sustainable level, and you didn't say it, but you should say it, there has to be less accidents. That's how RAF gets into that sustainable. As long as we continue to have as many accidents and fatalities and injuries as we see on our roads, then RAF almost collapses. And that's why I'm checking with this particular aspect. So RAF used to run the back to school. So earlier on you referenced the Van der Bijl Park accident. May their souls continue to rest in peace. Is to then understand with these current changes and there were issues raised in Scopa around the marketing, communications and so forth. What is RAF doing at the point of awareness to reduce the number of accidents? Because if you reduce the number of accidents, it follows that the number of claimants reduces. So RAF used to play quite a critical role in that space. If you can get a sense, Chair. Those were my two other questions. Okay. I had hoped that Honorable Blosser will ask these questions, but you went into an area that I had not gone to. Thanks.
Okay. No, thanks very much. Two things. I think the question relating to the HR staffing, we might have to, as his Honorable Ghana is proposing, we might have to just get it in writing so that we don't relabor it much. It will be confusing now if you may try to answer it, I can imagine. But also now, it also speaks to DM, to the issues that the Honorable Masina is speaking about, that the public outcries that there's no vacancy, a feeling of vacancies in RAF, and this is what is also resulting in us not being paid and so forth. But if you are to give us that particular brief detail, so-and-so was suspended, he was the acting CFO, the position of manager supply chain is now vacant because he's suspended and therefore. But it also speaks to if you are to prefer charges now for Donald, who was a senior manager for procurement, reporting to the CFO, who the CFO is suspended, who now prefers charges for Donald. So please take your time and respond nicely to that so that we are on the same page. If through you, DM, the CEO still want to come in on, especially on the last part of what both Honorable Masina and Honorable Malmacha would have said, Honorable Ghana would have said, then, yeah, and then you'll come in and repeat. Yeah.
Chair, we'll follow direction, as you have indicated, Honorable Chanchi, you covered. In that we'll make a written submission.
I'm covered, Chair, on the basis that it's more detailed information. Both the Chair and Honorable Ghana are looking for that we need to sit down and send it back to the committee. We've taken note of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would ask, Chair, that submission must also cover the fact that we were settled with two organizational structures. And
Yes.
what that would have meant for the entity. So the work that is being done there is critical as well for stabilizing. Can we go to CEO?
Thank you. With regard to the SCM part, we are busy with some root cause analysis and risk assessment around how our SCM environment looks. I mean, we do concede to the fact that it needs attention, and it comes from that space that we want to see the nature and extent of the attention it requires. And out of that, we would then be able to put in place mitigating actions to make sure that we address issues. And I mean, when it relates to issues of holding people accountable, it does happen on case-by-case basis across the organization. I hope that answers. Thank you.
Chair, the question around awareness is that is a department sector-wide initiative, understanding that there needs to be a pooling and sharing of resources of the department, provinces and municipalities and our entities, including REF. So whilst REF may be able to run programs of safety, but it would be prudent in our outlook that the revised and reviewed National Road Safety Strategy, which we have concluded on, which REF is an active participant, be a whole of transport sector responsibility. Honorable Ghana is right. We've advanced the point at SCOPA that the reduction of road accidents and fatalities is a saving for REF. But above and beyond that, it is a saving for the healthcare space as well, as we reduce the number of trauma patients who go into our fatalities. It is a saving for basic education, who have to spend less on children who have then developed special needs because of the extent of the injuries that they are suffering. Chair, the economy is bleeding some 205 billion rands to 260 billion rands estimatedly to road crashes and road fatalities. So it is of absolute critical importance that above and beyond saving lives, which is our primary responsibility, we also look and answer the economic question of road fatalities in the country. Part of the targets of the 7th Administration DOT is the reduction of road fatalities by 45% by the year 2029, so that we can be able to reach the United Nations target of 50% by the year 2030. REF has got a role to play in that. But what would be irresponsible, Chair, is of all our road branch entities to run their own programs. And then you find that there's duplication of programs on awareness. So RTMC has got programs, RT has got programs, Cross-Border has got programs, the department has got programs. So what we're trying to do is streamline. And on the question of communication, absolutely, we are wanting to streamline that better so that they can be actual savings for the economy. I'm sure, as you would have heard, Chair, when the Minister presented whilst we were at SCOPA, is that we had a reduction of 6.2% fatalities and 6.4% reduction in fatal crashes. And that is because the ecosystem is beginning to develop a particular coherence, which is important for us to actually achieve. And we continue to rely on the support of the portfolio committee in this regard, because it will solve a lot of our problems. If we reduce fatalities and fatal crashes, Chair. So I think, Honourable Ghana, we are very much working in that space. And Chair, I'm sure pretty soon we will be asking for a date to come and present to yourself after we've presented to Cabinet the revised and reviewed National Road Safety Strategy 2026-2030, which seeks to cover now the last 4 years of the United Nations decade of action on this particular space. And as Minister has also pronounced, we are looking for your support, Chair, in the legislative reforms that we seek to bring, amongst others, the zero limit on drinking insofar as driving is concerned, just because of the sheer amount of problems we're having around behavior change. 80% of our fatalities, Honourable Ghana, can be traced back to road driver behavior on the roads. 45% is pedestrians, and I can tell you now, Chair, on weekends I probably get more notifications for major crashes than I do in the week, simply because of the kind of behavioral outlook that is engaged on weekends, particularly between the hours of 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., midnight to 1 p.m. in the early hours. And if you trace back all that behavior, it takes you to amongst others, the alcohol question. So that the whole space, therefore, of messaging, communication is around those pillars, but we do need a Chair to focus on pedestrians. And then why that is key also for REF, Chair, is because in your pedestrian segment is the poorest of the poor, who then bear the brutal brunt of this laborious process of REF. So they get injured and still have to go through another challenge. So it's key that you plug in, because you solve the other socio-economic realities around our claimants. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thanks for that. I think what you may desire to do also is just to tell us what is your situation now in relation to marketing, because as Honorable Ghana is saying, it's a serious contributor to what we want to achieve. You may also want to tell us what are your programs on marketing that you are doing, so that we don't labor it here. If you do reduce it in writing, this is what you are, these are the entities that you have supporting you on marketing, and this is how you engage in them, and so forth. I hope that suffices, Honorable Ghana. Yeah. Now, a few questions from my side, because I think we must draw to a close now. We have had a very fruitful engagement. I'll come to that on my summary when we close. The first question through you, DM, is when we engaged for the last time on engagement that Honorable Blosser say it was not that proper. There was an issue relating to the interim CEO. Then, if you could clarify, where is that interim CEO and what would have happened?
Chairperson, there was an intervention on the part of the Minister and myself that the process that the board had been engaged in, or the conclusion of that process resulted in the appointment of an interim CEO, which we deemed to be incorrect. And therefore the board was asked to remedy that and identify an individual, as they have, Mr. Porter, within the establishment of REF. We did consider, Chairperson, scouting the roads branch, including entities, if the possibility of secondment would be there, but we deemed it more prudent for the stability of those other entities and sector to rather ask REF to look within the ecosystem. The board, as I understood their thinking, rationale and communication, had taken understood the process in another way, and they explained it, how they arrived at it, but there was agreement that we could not accede to that, and it was regularized, Chairperson. And so I think that is also an important lesson for the ecosystem generally about how we deal with these matters. But I think the board was quite amicable to the directive that we issued, that we could not accede to that appointment, and it was corrected, Chairperson, and I do not envisage a situation of it repeating itself again. But the chair of the board could be here and speak to it if there's further comment.
So you meant you terminated that mandate of that person?
It was terminated, Chair. He is not in the establishment. Yeah, and yes, and resigned out of his own volition, and the board regularized that. So he's not within REF, Chairperson.
Which was helpful. Related to that, the current CE, you were head of risk.
Chair, my substantial role is Chief Internal Audit Officer.
Chief Internal Audit Officer, CIAO. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Let me not labor that. It's the issue that will come with the structure, because there are a lot of questions relating to that, but it's fine. When the structure comes, one will have clarity of what's happening. Related to this question coming to your DM, is that in terms of the RAF Act, the section 10 subsection 1B, it prescribes the number of members who must be in the board. It prescribes that you must at least have 8 but not exceeding 10 and not exceeding 12, and on top of that you must have a shareholder rep. The subsection A prescribed that there shall be a shareholder rep, and subsequent to that B prescribed that you must, over and above that shareholder rep, have 8 but not exceed 12. In terms of this, your composition of the interim, what is the situation?
So there is a shareholder rep who's present here today. She can just raise her hand. Yeah, okay, so that has been done. And the board is 8 Chairperson.
Oh,
yes.
So you have 9 members in terms of your composition.
Just that there's those apologies that were recorded, Chairperson. So that's why there would not be a full complement.
Okay. That is fine. Now, related to that is that now the board, the interim board, decide on the withdrawal of the Constitutional Court case on standards. What I want to establish is, before that interpretation of the standards became an argument, there was a liability which was sitting at a particular amount. And now, what is the implication with you reverting back to, are you also now going back to the 2021 liability status?
Well, thank you, Chair. So with the new revision of the standards, what we're reverting back to currently as a board is to have an item called a contingent liability, which was not there in the previous financial statements. And that contingent liability deals with the very beginning of the liability, where there has been an accident, but application to the RAF has not been made. So, and that is based on a lot of actuarial calculations as well as probabilities. So it's not a binding liability. And it's not liabilities that are at a stage where you can quantify them with confidence. And those were not in the financial statement. So we're moving towards having the number there. However, as a board, we are not yet at a stage of quantifying the number. So we've got interim financials that are out, which will be audited by the AG. And by that time, using the actuarial department, we will be in a better position to quantify the number. So we don't want to have a number in public until we know that there's models, there's justifiable assumptions, there's assumptions that we can back up that talk to the number.
If I'm to ask you today, sitting here, what is the liability of RAF? What would be your answer?
It's as per the current financial statements, which we are showing currently 99 billion in our financial statements, because that liability.
How much?
99.
99 billion.
Yes, because that liability has moved through the stages where the probability as well as our ability to quantify those numbers is more at a high level of assurance for us. But the contingent liability, which is a big number that you're talking about, is the one that we're working on.
Now, if you were to apply the model that was applied before 2020-2021 financial year, if I'm not mistaken, it was putting your liabilities as at above 200 billion. Now that we have withdrawn that court case, it means that you have to operate on the basis of that particular model. Is that correct?
Agreed.
So it means we are likely, does it mean we are likely to see our contingent liabilities going to 500 billion? There's that likelihood.
We are not there yet, Chair, as a board, where we can put a number like that in the public, because we are professional individuals, and everything we do must be backed up by science and must be backed up with assumptions that I can sit here today and boldly be able to stand behind. So we are working on that number. So once the number with this interim board is there, we are happy to come and have that discussion. So
when you are a professional, nicely as you are, backed by your science, we are public representative, backed by public view and public interest. Is that understandable?
Acceptable,
So,
Chair.
so we have to meet each other halfway.
Yes.
When I live here, when the people talks about fluidity, what do you call it? Fluidity of RAF, what do I say to them? With you being backed by your science, being a professional and making
That
models.
we are almost there. If the public can just bear patience with us. This board was only appointed 8th of August, and we're working with a delicate situation in the country, but we're trying to move ourselves and the country to a system that we can all stand behind and be able to explain to the public. So we're almost there. We're not even talking a year. So if the public can just bear with us and allow us to go through the processes, and we'll be happy to come out and publicly state where the number is.
What is the public bearing with you, even to bear with you, mean in terms of time?
3 months at maximum.
You're saying by the end of 3 months, you'll be able to know what is the financial liquidity of the entity, given the new model that we have applied?
Yes, if you give us about 3 months, we'll be able to tell you the value chain of the whole liability spectrum for RAF, because currently the liability that we're showing you in the financial statement is up until a certain point. But we want to take the public from beginning to the end with the liability. So just bear with the board. We're almost there.
You understand the implication of that liability in terms of the national debt?
I understand it very well, Chair. So what's good about being transparent is not that you're solving a problem, but you are equipping people like yourselves to make decisions.
Yeah,
So it's not that if the number is there, it means the money is there, and it means the solution is there, but it empowers all of us because we've got transparent information in front of us to deal with the problems.
Yeah, hence I'm asking that, because it is not a rough matter. It's a national security matter. Your liability is a national security matter, DM and the collective. That is why, of all the things, what I'm interested in, it has implication on our rate of borrowing, from the treasury point, it has far-reaching implication for DTIC, for everyone. So don't view it when you say public must bear with us. It's not just the public having to bear with you. It's about decision makers. It's about all of us across the spectrum. That is why it's a very serious issue for us. You understand that?
Actually, Chair. And
Okay.
fortunately for us, it's a number that the public, as well as this platform, has been dealing with for years. So it's not, even if the number comes now, it's about the quantum. But I think the depth of the issues around the number and around the affordability, the country is aware. So we are now moving to just the number. And,
Okay,
yeah.
maybe DM must intervene.
Chair, this decision is new.
Yeah.
That the board has taken to pull out of the Constitutional Court. That's the decision. Its consequences are then, what does that mean for the audit process, amongst others? So the decision, Chair, does not necessarily mean that by just pulling out, there's information. The information has to be, because they have to revert to an accounting standard and therefore prepare the financials in accordance with. That's a process.
Yeah.
So I would want to say, Chair, can we request that the process run its course and the audit process run its course, and it will give us all what we need to do, because there's implications for the AG here in preparing how they audit us as well. And we are still in a financial year. The financial year is only ending on the 31st of March.
Yeah.
And then the processes of audit will kick in. So I think that is, I mean, the prior audits, Chair, are closed. They are done. The outcome is there. The AG has tabled it. Now in this financial year, we have an opportunity to, before the audit process starts, to do things as they should be. And the audit outcomes will tell us, Chairperson. I think that is the request that can be that can be made. I think we have crossed we've taken the biggest step, the difficult one, which is to pull out.
Yeah.
But now is to now deal with the consequence and implications of what that means, and confront the numbers as they'll be presented.
Well, I'm comfortable with that, to grant that what's important for me, and I think for committee and for the welcome, Honorable Gama, your apology was read that you'll join later, and unfortunately you are joining at the tail end when, but I'm told when you were in the whip party, so they wouldn't whip you for not being present here. So I'm comfortable, DM, with that. I think what's important for us is to understand the liquidity of the entity. And if you say that will be understood by the time you get the AG outcome, is fine with us, because we'll still have time to engage on that when that particular time comes. I think I'm comfortable to have the
I would want Chair to even beg your indulgence to say, can we not confine ourselves to 3 months? Because that will, when the year end, and then audit takes
You're likely
place.
to have your result in September, October.
Chair, all I'm asking for is let's
The 3 months may be minimal.
let's go through the audit process in its material
Complicity. Okay. No, it's fine. So don't commit, says 2-3 months. Let's just say, I think you must appreciate the DM you have, because you could read where I'm taking you to, and so but it's fine. No, thanks for the intervention, DM, because the next question was going to be, in these 3 months, are you going to be having an audit outcome? Because you are saying this thing will be done. So I'm happy the DM could read where I'm going, but it's fine. But look, at the end of the day, it's not to put you on a spotlight unnecessary. It's just for the people of South Africa, because every day, everyone is complaining that, but this entity of yours is going to collapse. There is no way that this thing will be sustainable moving forward. So I can't tell even where I'm seated. But what are the actual liabilities of this entity? And now when you come with this, it then even creates a more problem for me. But I think with the intervention of the DM, we'll suspend that question of wanting to understand the liability until such a time that the AXA has applied its processes using the previous standards. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. The last question, the last two DM, and I think maybe the acting CE will answer. And it is provoked by the fact that when you were presenting, you said you have a lot of default judgments. What is the status of your legal division in the midst of all these challenges? I know we said the HR, you'll come with that structure, but I just want to leave here knowing what is the status of your legal division?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as it stands, we have high vacancy rate in terms of our legal division. We have commissioned the process of placement. Overall, in the state attorney, you're looking at about 240 plus. And in the overall legal administration, you're looking at over 400 posts to be filled. So it's quite a hefty task, but we are on the course to resolve it.
And who heads the legal division? Is it the
we do have
executive legal or?
Yes, we do have a CGO leading that space, supported by head legal, Mr. Niko Baloi behind me.
Where is that man of default judgment? Mr. Niko. Oh, it's you. How are you? Yeah, I was asking, what is your position? You are an executive. The head of legal is the executive position?
No, it's at a head level. It's the head that reports to your chief corporate support officer.
No,
chief governance officer, the CGO.
Okay, no, it's fine. Let's not labor it now.
No, I think for the purposes of clarity, CEO, explain it as you have it, because it's material to what's in the public discourse.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue, because I think that's where Chair is going. So what is there?
You're good at you're good at anticipating.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that intervention. It will.
Thanks, TM, for guidance. So currently we have a chief governance officer. In the chief governance officer space, we then have different portfolios. We have ERM, risk management. We have legal administration. We have claims assurance. So the head legal services is part of the heads under the CGO, and is the one that leads the entire workflow or the value chain for legal matters.
So the CGO then report to yourself as
Yes,
the CEO.
it reports to myself.
No, I think that's fine for now, colleagues. DM, do you have an idea of when are you likely to reintroduce the amendments or the new bill to us?
The DDG for roads is here. If I can just ask him, Chair, to just explain. So we are at a serious point, the socio-economic impact assessment. That's
Okay.
where we are. If you can just give a brief, the DDG roads, just on where we are with that. But once that has been completed, I know there was NEDLEC matters that needed to be resolved as part of our submissions, and they are working on that. DDG Mohan?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. So we've submitted all the documents to the CS office at the presidency. They had come back with questions, so we resubmitted, and there's another set of questions that came through. So once we clarify all those matters, they will issue the certificate. In parallel, we've approached NEDLEC. We will present later this month. But to go to those cabinet clusters, you need to have that CS and NEDLEC report, which we're expecting this month. So all systems go by March. We will table our submissions through. Thank you.
No, thanks very much. DM? That's
that.
Okay. No, I think we'll await that particular process. I think that process is important for us, colleagues, because the reality is that the Act as it is what creates an existence problem for the entity. And we can't keep on this way. It will be irresponsible of us to keep in the manner that we can't operate the way we operated in 1996, but think that we can get result for 2030. It is not going to be possible. So you may have to look into that. Maybe before I come into, we are done, colleagues, from our part. Maybe before I come to my closing shots, DM, if you can part your parting shots on behalf of the team.
No, Chair, I really want to thank you and the honorable members for what has been a robust.
Without disrupting you, I've consulted with my collective brains. I think I will have a sideline discussion with you and Honorable Blosser, if the two of you don't mind, so that we don't, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I really think that we at DOT and Ministry are keenly focused on the work of REF, because above and beyond the work we need to do for infrastructure development and so on, REF is service delivery, because it touches the interrupted lives of people. And it is an important intervention. Of course, it needs reforms in order for it to be fit for purpose. The board is seized a chairperson with ensuring that we stabilize governance, we avoid mission drift at REF, and that the work environment for the workers is conducive. It is my expectation that the board will continue to hold firm on the priorities that we have agreed upon and on the guidance that the committee has given, so that we can be able to deliver on the mandate of REF. The truth we must confront, Chairperson, is that before things get better, they will be difficult. Because we are, building an aeroplane as we fly it. Because we can't suspend REF and say, imani phakathi salungis. We don't have that luxury. And so I think that is probably at the heart of the challenges that we have. I really want to implore on the board to focus on the claimant, to pay the claimants. Let us deliver for the people. And Chair, we look forward to your continued oversight. We look forward to your continued presence in our REF space. And your guidance. Chair, we also want to say we will need your support, because some of the decisions we have to take and the policy outlooks we have to make are difficult ones. And the key question around foreign nationals has to be substantively responded to within the legislative processes. Because as things stand now, REF is bleeding amongst others because of illegal foreign migration. We have to institute stricter measures of visa requirements, insurance for people as they travel. I still believe and maintain that the court erred in its finding that REF can just pay even to foreign nationals without invoking the clauses of limitation which were available to it. But yeah, it's water under the bridge now. We will have to correct it with legislative reforms. But REF must focus, as it is, Chair, and where there have been mistakes in how we have engaged with the committee, even on the virtual platform, Chairperson, we apologize. I think that the REF, as we had it a few months ago, and REF as we have it now, there's a great deal of improvement. And Chairperson of Board, more can still be done, and I implore on you to do more and to do better. Chair, we will get REF right. With that, we are committed to, and we are working flat out to achieve a REF that is fit for purpose and responsive to our socio-economic realities for our people. So that it's not a ref for some and a ref for others, because the inequality realities, Chair, within the ref ecosystem are glaring, and they are not fair. But also at the same time, Chair, if you, through the powers that be, if you can engage your counterparts at the Appropriations Committee, we would be greatly happy if you could get us more money for ref. Even if nje chenbone okuncane sithi sizulu kubonga okuncane kubonga okukhulu, sesocela ke sihlalo ukuthi nisizame ngisho nami ngokuncane. But on a serious note is that whatever resources we have, it remains our expectation that they are utilized prudently and efficiently within the parameters and dictates of the law. Otherwise, Chair, we are very grateful and thank you for the opportunity you have granted us to be here. We look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you very much.
There is no intention in our part to leave you offside until next year. There is no such an intention whatsoever. We will see you after your audit, I think. We will still be on that liquidity matter. but nonetheless, we really want to appreciate the cordial engagement that we had. It is not written anywhere or in any statute that when you come to be parliament, you must come to be ridiculed. It is not written anywhere. But it's also not written anywhere that you come to parliament, you come for a free ride. You come to account, and we are happy with how you have really answered our questions. At the core, DM, and I think you touched it on your closing remarks, at the core of what we must do, must pay claimants. We must pay claimants. When I grew up in the organization of politics, they used to tell me in the student movement that we must fight and learn at the same time. And this is exactly what you are doing and what you have to do. You must build as you run. There is no way you are going to stop and say, we are still building weight, like you are saying. We are still building. No. You are going to have to pay claimants, navigate the challenges as you navigate them. But the greatest concern we have is the public outcry just on the payments of claimants. And I think it is now clearing on me that it is related also to how your organizational structure is. Because if you have those vacancies at legal, at claim office and so forth, there's no way you are going to be able to respond on time. We must also do our work, and I'm happy with what you are saying, that you are now summoning all the capacities from the entities in the department, in where possible, even outside the department, to say how do we then work together towards the marketing? Because the only solution, the quickest solution for us is zero accidents, more money in the pockets to pay those that happened in the past. But if you are going to be having more and more accidents as we move forward, every time I see an accident, the only thing that the second thing, of course, after sympathizing with those that are injured, is hey, this is another claim for ref that we're going to be called about, not showing that it has not been paid. So that's the greatest stress that we have. But remember that claim means, as you'd say, intervention on the disrupted lives of individuals. It is not just a giveaway. So you always think of that, Mr. Janki, when that happened. The issue of, you touched on it, DM, of illegal foreigners having the right to claim the rough money has put us at a big foot against the people of South Africa, and I can say it here because we are live. It's a matter that we really have to attend to as we look into the new law. And I think that is why the raging fire in me that we must move as speedily as possible towards enacting a new law, because the things we hear about illegal foreigners doing with this particular money, to the extent of fraudulent things that have to happen because they have to gain that particular money, and it being done in the eyes of legitimate deserving South African not receiving a pay claim is a very serious concern, Mr. Baloyi, from legal. It's a serious concern. But of course, like you are saying, you are assuring us you'll be doing something on it, but speed up your game. Especially the level of marketing, exhaust the capacity that we have, work side by side with everyone to ensure that we improve that. I would be unfair on Mr. Janki if I do not touch on the sentiment that was made by Honorable Blouse that when he saw Mr. Janki being appointed the treasurer of a particular organization, he started to say, yo, our resources are going to be under siege. It is, so I must touch on it because it will be unfair, DM, that, yeah.
Chair, in fact, I would have erred if I don't clarify it because
Yeah.
it speaks to how we constituted the board.
Yeah.
When we constituted the interim board, there was two major areas of focus insofar as the legislative space was concerned. One was that an inquiry by SCOPA had been instituted, and therefore we needed parliamentary experience and expertise. And secondly was that we are in the process of bringing a bill to Parliament. And there are actually two former members of Parliament in the board, not one.
Yeah.
So that there's the clarity to say the sentiment must not be targeted at one individual. That was the rationale. We were saddled with a situation where we needed expertise in this particular space. And I underline the phrase, Chair, interim.
Yeah. No, thanks very much for that. I felt I must touch on it because I would have been unfair on you if I don't clarify that it is in your right to serve the people of South Africa in whatever capacity you are requested, despite your political affiliation. I'm not sure if me and you are from the same organization. I don't know. But it's in the interest of, it's in your right to serve the people of South Africa when you are called upon to do that. Colleagues, compatriots, friends, countrymen and women, I think we have come to the end of this worthy, fruitful, healthy engagement with RAF, an experience we did not have in the past. Thanks very much to the interim board and the DM and our colleagues. Engaging RAF has always been rough, so thanks very much. The meeting stay adjourned. Blosse and DM, if we can have a tit for tat, a bit, just 2 minutes.